Broadcasting to you live from the Orion spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, somewhere east of the Mississippi. My name is Brian Engelman. Today is Thursday, November the 13th, 2025, and this right here that you are watching, well, this is called the TNAM Daily Show. Turn that volume down. TNAM Daily Show. What's that about? TNAM. What does that stand for? Whoop, put that back up there. And right here, the New American Media. TNAM, because the news always matters. The news does always matter. Except, we kind of just get lied to and manipulated. Hey, remember that Republican shutdown? Remember that Trump shutdown? No, that was the Schumer shutdown. They didn't gain anything. It didn't need to happen. It was political theater. It was very much meant for midterm or at least election mobilization. We got something to rally against. Do you? It's pretty tiring. This whole putting party before country. Our founding fathers warned us about political parties. And there's a lot that needs to be corrected in this country. And every distraction from the things that need corrected and improved, it's really selling ourselves short, and we got to stop allowing it. So, is this the end of Chuck Schumer? Feels like it. We'll see. Do the Democrats gain anything? I don't know. I mean, well, they did well in the elections. Well, they won the spots that everybody thought they were going to win. Deep blue areas got deep blue votes. Was it all that shocking or surprising or indicative of a larger American sentiment? I don't think so. I don't think you think so. I know it. You know it. The American people know it. Every hen house, outhouse, doghouse, and farmhouse. So that's done now. We had enough people jump over from the Democrats. Nobody who was up for election next year, so they wouldn't have to pay a penalty. At least so far, old news. By then, nobody will care. But if it were people on the Democrat side who voted for it and they were up for re-election next November, oh yeah, their political opponents could definitely use it against them. Very strategized, very astroturfed. As we say, finally, goodbye to Nancy Pelosi and her astroturfed comments, her astroturfed movements. I'll tell you what, though, we definitely got an education. We got an education on the SNAP system. Look, I think reasonable people can find a little bit of room for some assistance, but when some assistance becomes a permanent way of life, and it's not something used as a springboard to get out of, but a hammock to lay down inside and make it tougher for everybody else. Because now that they have a dependent, now they have to take care of you. Come on. You need to get on your feet and help somebody in a worse position than you. Like that's how humanity gets better at this stuff. Not by abusing systems designed to pay back voters, Democrats, who are selling this country down the river. And they're using our own stolen money to do it with. So we've learned a lot about SNAP. And my God, seeing some of these videos, the things that are called food, if you're on SNAP, it should be like a bag of apples, some ground beef, some rice, some beans. There should be like, you get a pack. You get a box of the canned foods. You go get a couple of protein options. You get some fresh fruit and vegetable. And that's it. The stuff that these people are getting, they're appetizers and desserts. I mean, maybe you grew up in a time where you didn't have to think about appetizers and desserts. But, when you're trying to get by, when you're trying to hang on, when you're trying to make every dollar count, like a lot of people do, if you have the luxury of going out to eat, you're not getting appetizers and desserts. $3 for a Coca-Cola. You're going to have water. I remember some of these conversations growing up. Remembered hearing about the Depression chili that the mother was served and grandmother cooked, and it was so watered down. It was hard to find the meat inside of it because you had to make things last. You had to stretch the budget. Can of beans, not that much meat, a huge pot, some tomatoes, some seasoning. Make it count. And you just see a bunch of slobs with Costco-sized bins of sweet treats, high fructose corn crap, sugary sodas, bakery cakes. Not food. Garbage. Splurge items, not food, not eggs, not rice, not beans, not meat, not just items of food, just real food. So we've had an education on what are people getting away with SNAP? How much are people getting paid? How long are they on this program? What's the what? So we learned a lot during the government shutdown about that particular topic. We also learned a lot about Obamacare, the subsidies. The subsidies have been encouraging the health insurance companies to continuously raise their rates. And the subsidies aren't going to the American people, they're going to the insurance companies. Obamacare was never affordable. It was never the Affordable Care Act. It was never affordable. Yes, Kenneth, hello, everybody in comments. Marion, Kenneth, David. No Snapple on Snap. Yeah, I mean, the frivolous stuff. I mean, if you had Kool-Aid, more power to you. Like, where'd you wasting all that? But geez, you ever see how much sugar you dump into those containers? I used to do that a lot as a kid. My favorite drink now, it's well, they're not a sponsor, but it's carbonated water with just a little bit of fruit juice. It gives you a little bit of flavor, not a ton of sugar. It hits the craving for a soda pop or for like a carbonated beverage, but it's not loaded with a bunch of blah. The equivalent of eating another full meal that day if you have 2 cans of soda for 400 calories right there. We've learned about Obamacare not being affordable. Oh, if you like your plan, you can keep your plan. If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. And we're going to reduce prices on your health insurance. It's, folks, I'm not going to give you the old okey doke, but, it's going to be like a cable bill. The prices are going to go down. That's just how it is, according to the people that wrote it, and that was the insurance companies. But look, hopeity hope, changeity change. Not going to get fooled again, So, just we want to take over 1/6 of the economy, all of it. Republicans have had that too long, and it's like you look at them and you go, "You didn't build that. You didn't build that." You lost your doctor, you lost your plan, the premium shot through the roof. It was never affordable. It was always the Democrats' design because they allowed the insurance companies to write it. They signed off on it. Remember Nancy Pelosi? Oh, I can't wait to pass it to find out what's in it. The Democrats own Obamacare, and it's a mess. So if the complaint was, oh, we're shutting down government to save your health care. No, you guys screwed it up when you acted as pirates and you overtook it. What was that, 2010? This has your signature all over it. You don't get to cause the problem and then blame the people who have to deal with the repercussions of the mess that you made. And we're not done. There's going to be more votes on this. Something in December, something in January, I think. The funding isn't there. And the way that this is structured is madness. Now, it's also madness hearing the Republicans say that, oh, we have a plan. All right, show me the plan. They didn't show us the plan. So I would love something that redesigns healthcare. Put Elon, Bobby Kennedy, Mark Cuban, Dr. Drew. Yeah, throw Adam Carolla in for good measure. For some practical what the fuckery. I think he'd sniff out like problems in the plan. He'd be a good drug sniffing dog, like a good problem sniffing man. Like, no, that's because he looks at California and sees how Gavin Newsom is basically getting about $1 million, $900,000 per homeless. So the homeless industrial complex continues to march forward because it's all a grift. Everybody's dipping their beak in, taking 5%, taking 10% for the big guy. It's not about actually fixing problems. When's the last time when's the last time government cured anything? When's the last time health cured anything? Shit, back to Adam Carolla. It's diet and exercise. Everything always goes back to diet and exercise, he will often say. I do enjoy that show. I've always liked just kind of hearing how that brain of his dissects stories in the news and just interesting angles to consider. Used to listen to him during drive time back in the day when we moved to Los Angeles. Okay, you say no Mark Cuban. I know Cuban's a turd. I get it, but he's also doing something with that healthcare thing, with the prescription company that he's building. Anything that'll bring the cost down, I'm in. Like let's not shoo good ideas away. Anything that'll keep the price of stuff down, the affordability of stuff in this economy. I think Cuban's onto something with the prescription plans. So I'd like him to be a voice in the room where it happens, to paraphrase Hamilton. But that's what's going on. The pointless Schumer shutdown is over. Government has opened. Is that a gift or a curse? A blessing or a burden? That's the question we have to answer. Also, the Clinton corruption documents have dropped. Is Nimbus going to... How about over this way? No, he's got his way. He likes to go. Hi, buddy. Nimbus has joined the chat. Hey, now you joined the show. You're talking. Now you're talking. Say hi to Nimbus, everybody. Then we're also going to discuss Epstein. The Schumer shutdown didn't deliver the results that they were hoping for, so out came a new Epstein hoax. However, is it possible that this is going to backfire on the Dems even more gloriously than you could imagine? Or is this the end of MAGA? All these topics and more coming up on today's episode of the TNAM Daily Show, a division of the Agree to Disagree show here on the New American Media.
Your guide to the truth, thenewamericanmedia.com.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. All right. Let's go ahead and let's start on X. I'm feeling like that's what we would want to do. Oh, programming note. Today at, let me double check, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Let me double check. Strictly football. 4 Eastern. Strictly football. Today, Mike Barra, Jim Mitchell, Ezra L. Robinson, and myself will have Strictly Football, 4 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to do bets and trends. Looking forward to the games of this week, starting today, and then rolling through the weekend. And then, of course, the Monday night game. We split the show this week into 2 separate parts. Well, hi, Nimbus. I didn't really... Okay, Nimbus came and went. But yes, there's a programming note. I feel bad, like I should have pet him more than almost not at all. Sorry, I'm trying to pilot an aircraft. I have my eyes on lighting and text threads and text threads and text threads. So yeah. Sorry, Nim. He can be aloof sometimes anyway. Programming note, as Nimbus yells from the other room. We will put this up on the screen here. Ticker with given text already exists. Oh, okay. Put these up on the screen at the bottom. Of course, I need to change the design because I never want this, and they will never keep my... If you were designing something, wouldn't you want to keep the same user commands, the user controls, the same settings when you log in? It should be set. This is what I want it to look like. I never want it to look like this. Never. It always changes it away from what I changed it to, which is this. Horrible user experience. That doesn't make sense. If I want to change it, let me change it. And don't log me out of my settings. When I'm in my account, like, you should know. It's like if I'm driving my car, I've adjusted the seat. It's maybe I did a little bit of lumbar or a lot of lumbar or no lumbar. Maybe I raised it a little bit, lowered it a little bit, leaned the back, scooted forward, whatever it is. When it's my car, once I set it, leave it there. Don't go changing it. Anyway, maybe it's just me. But these are our donation links. Welcome to the bar. My name's Brian, the bartender. Thank you for being here. We're going to discuss all the things going on the TV screens back there. That's essentially the equivalent of scrolling through the internet. We're going to go through our X account and our Instagram account. Follow the New American Media in all the places. But yes, Rumble rants are awesome. Super chats are awesome. And tip jar, Venmo, and Cash App. That is my name, Brian Engelman, Engelman. And PayPal is fuzzinstallment@yahoo.com. So I'm in the process now of transferring the first month of payment from Rumble that's been activated. This is the first time we've crossed the threshold on Rumble into the payment territory. It's been days and days. It's taking forever to transact. They said it could be 6 to 8 days, I think. That's insane. Instantaneous transfer. What are we even doing here? But I'm in the process of getting that to transfer. That's a good step in the direction that we need it to be. We do have Patreon subscribers. That's a great way to, if you sign up there and forget it, you can do like $10 a month or $100 a month or different amounts, whatever works. And I think we have a plan there, like the amount of Netflix subscription, I don't know, $13 or $17 a month. That one does transfer. That does drop into the business account that pays the business bills. So that is established. That's good. It's really just making sure all of our tip jars are out in the right places. This month, I believe, is supposed to be the first time we collect a YouTube AdSense payment. First time in 5 years. Our channel now has advertisements again. They had all been stripped away years ago, and they're back. Still has a lot of maintenance to do, but now the pennies are piling up. The pennies are starting to happen. And I owe it to you. I owe it to you folks, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Just like we appreciate Deb. Oh my gosh, Deb. Deb is in the house. What's up, Deb? Deb, not from San Francisco, says, "Oh, Brian, what are you on about? LOL, ranting again." That is what I do. I thought that was a pretty good, cogent, focused, and coherent opening salvo. Nobody writes this stuff. I don't read a teleprompter. This hasn't been queued up for me to regurgitate. It's off the top of my head a lot of the times, most of the time, all the time, essentially. I freestyle a show every day. That's what I'm on about. That is what I'm up to. But I think the opening rant, the opening monologue, it's connecting the dots here. Clinton in the crosshairs, that's going to be a big component to this. Very interesting one. Very interesting one. But yes, that is what I'm ranting about. The super chat from Deb. We love the super chats, and we love you, Deb. Thank you. I guess let's act like a bunch of trash pandas. A bunch of raccoons digging around, rifling through the rubbish. How about we do that and separate some fake news from fact? Let's start off with our page here at American_media_. Please make sure you're following us on Grok, one of the more important apps out there in the universe. Pinned to the top is the link to go to our Patreon page. If you click it, it takes you to our interview with John B. Wells from Caravan to Midnight. Look at that. I even wore a suit jacket. Talking God, Trump, Biden, Deep State, and World War III. Look at that. Look at that. And that's where you can sign up and become a patron. Yeah, this is awesome, like I said, because everything's already linked. They take very small fees, very, very reasonable fees, probably the lowest fees of the feed places. Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, I think, are 0 fees. These are very small. But yeah, you can sign up and follow us there on our Patreon. But back to our X account, streaming live. Let's take a look at some news here. Is there commentary over top of this? Does not appear to be. Libs of TikTok says, breaking, a staff member for Senator Tammy Duckworth, Democrat, reportedly posed as a lawyer, then falsified a Homeland Security form in order to secure the release of a criminal illegal alien. Jose Ismael Ayuso Sandoval. I've always told you about people with at least 4 names. An illegal alien who's been deported 4 times and also has a conviction for DUI. Looking for a comment out of Senator Tammy Duckworth. I'm trying to figure out if I want to play Michelle's words or if I want to tell you what Matt Walsh said about this first. Okay, End Wokeness put this clip out of Barack Obama's better half. So let's just let it speak for itself.
And we have to start educating people about all kinds of beauty.
Yes.
And our beauty is so powerful and so unique that
Yes.
it is worthy of a conversation, and it's worthy of demanding the respect that we're owed for who we are and what we offer to the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely, absolutely. Matt Walsh summarizes this. We have to educate people about our beauty. Yes, I have often said that if anyone doesn't find me physically attractive, it is because they lack proper education. That's beautiful, people. That is. Deb says Brian's rants are like a 2-step dance. How can you elaborate on that? I'm very, very curious to hear you elaborate on that. Brian's rants are like a two-step dance. Hi, Mr. Nimbus. You hanging out down there? You can jump up if you want. Here, you want me to bring you up? Let's bring up Nimbus. Wee. All right. Nimbus is the star of the show. That was hilarious, Matt Walsh. Appreciate that. Mario Knopfel. Well, let's just go to Elon. X rolls out an entire new communications stack with encrypted messages, audio, video calls, and file transfer. X Money comes out soon. Join us if you want to build cool products. X will be the everything app. He has said that the features are going to just kind of have everything. I'm waiting for the X phone. I don't know what's taking so long on the X phone. I would gladly swap out my phone. Gladly. Would you? Would you rather be linked arm in arm with Apple or Google? Or would you get an X phone? Because they say like apps are going to be gone. There's going to be like unique it's going to be about the interface. The phone would basically control everything. And like the apps are just things that are happening. They're accessed as you need them. But it's not going to be set up the same way. Future phones won't. So we'll see. I think Elon was toying with the idea. He was at a recent interview. I don't know if it was with Rogan, but he was speaking on the fact that like, no, they don't have plans to release a phone. And by the way, future phones aren't going to be like phones as you know them, and they might be working on one of those. So keep your eyes peeled. Deb says, Brian's rants are like a two-step because you shuffle back and forth from the left to the right. Yeehaw. Wait, do you mean I politically shuffle from left to right? Or just my thoughts are all over the place? And I take a lot of side paths. They said, sir, you're kind of all over the place. And I said, no, it's like a weave. Joe Rogan, that's a wide weave, sir. That's a wide weave. Yeah, left or right like the political thing, or left and right like off-roading? I'm off-roading on sidebars and tangents. Anyway. All right, so I'm not really sure what all these things. Mario Knopfel. X pushed its biggest messaging upgrade yet. X Chat single inbox blends your regular DMs with fully encrypted chats. No more scattered menus, no more hunting for the encrypted tab. Everything lives in one clean feed. Exactly how Elon's been teasing the all-in-one X app to work. Encrypted chats now support E2E messages, media files, and even audio-video calls. Elon calls it Bitcoin-style encryption, built for real privacy without breaking functionality. Old messages simply get labeled as unencrypted. Turn on encryption, set your PIN, and you're in. Simple, not cryptic. It's a quiet but major step toward X becoming a universal communications hub. Part messenger, part phone, part file share, part everything. What comes next? Maybe smoother cross-device syncing, more super app feature, and tighter integration as XChat becomes the backbone of the platform. And expect critics to complain while users quietly adopt it because convenience always wins. X just made messaging feel modern again. That's from TechCrunch and Business Insider. Trying to give Nimbus a scritch here. He'll ultimately end up biting me because that's just how he does. But his hip doesn't let him scratch certain spots anymore, despite the medicine he takes. Yeah. Look at that face. You can't like put him to sleep. He's just I'm all over the place, she says. I'm all over the place. I call it a weave. It's a wide weave. But yes, I do that too. Oh, that's funny. This image here. Elon went for CNN, CNBC, and Fox News first. Then he went for Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. Now he's going for WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger and Signal. Anyway, keep your eyes peeled. Sounds interesting, if nothing else. I want to share this story. This guy was, one of the best ball players in history. Like I said, check us out on Strictly Football today, 4 p.m. Eastern. We're going to look ahead at betting trends and who to pick for this week's NFL action. But yeah, Bernie Kosar is going through a patch right now. So here's his message.
Hey, despite the winter storm out there and the first snow of the year, despite being in University Hospital, despite not getting the liver that I thought I was getting on this weekend, and unfortunately it being infected again, Sunday night after that bad Browns game and Monday morning, the bleeding started again. So to have 2 aggressive procedures yesterday to help stop the bleeding, and then
I just love how he's talking about, his dire life and death health situation, but he's got time to lament how the Browns are having a hard time playing good football right now. I don't know. He's a Cleveland sports legend. Grew up with him as being a big fan and looking for that transplant. But I just love how he's working in there that the Browns played awful because they did.
2 aggressive procedures yesterday to help stop the bleeding, and then unfortunately early this morning now to be heading down for a 3rd procedure. I can't tell you, being under this duress right now, but wanting to start everyone's day positively and spiritually in the right frame of mind. Man, all the duress right now, I could really use your love, support, and actual prayers today. But your financial support at shopkosar.com for what we're doing and what I'm going through and what we're doing with renewing athletes' lives yesterday with Veterans Day, and being able to proudly not only be able to help my ex-teammates and players, but proudly help our veterans and first responders who are in tragically way more challenging situations than me. So as bad as I'm feeling and as much help and support as I could use from you today, please support us and all the other people that are so worse off than me. God bless you. You matter.
So that's Bernie Kosar, everybody. So he's got his shop. Go check that out. Follow Bernie Kosar. Mary Kay Cabot, the beat reporter for the Browns, says, I believe deeply in the power of prayer, and Bernie Kosar needs all of our prayers, thoughts, well wishes, and love right now. Let's help deliver the miracle he needs. So, all right. Ready, all of us. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, Bernie Kosar has been a pretty doggone good dude. Good for the community, good for positivity, good for research, good for health, good for wellness, good for the city of Cleveland, good for the sport of football, and good for humanity. So if it be in your will, help him find the transplant that he needs to literally save his life. The world would be a better place with him. In your name we pray. Amen. Yeah, Bernie's a damned hero. I got a signed football from Bernie Kosar downstairs. All right. A woman says she felt incredibly uneasy after a bearded individual dressed in women's clothes and cat ears enters the women's bathroom with her at Barnes & Noble. On top of it, after she confronted the person outside, another woman rushed to defend the weirdo. So how would you handle this situation if you were a lady, or if this was your daughter, your sister, your wife, your girlfriend, your mom, and then this person walks in? How do you handle this?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm trans male.
Okay, so you're a girl, because I felt very uncomfortable. Okay, you're a male in the girls' bathroom?
I mean, I'm born female.
No, it's not okay. There's little girls in there.
No.
Don't tell me no. I have First Amendment rights. Unbelievable.
I don't mind talking to people.
There's all little...
So I was at Barnes & Noble a little while ago, and I was in the bathroom, and I came out of the stall, and this dude's in there putting on his lipstick, and I got scared. My heart sunk. And so I left the bathroom, waited for him to come out, and as you can see in the video, I questioned him. Like, I still don't know to this day. Is that a chick? A dude? I don't even know. But the fact is that if I felt nervous as a grown adult woman, I can't even imagine what a little girl would feel like. So, you know what, guys? I have nothing against these people. Let them live their life. But you know what? You should not let your kids, your girls in the bathrooms alone. I think there's a reason that these people don't go into the men's bathroom, because I don't know. What do you think would happen to them if they went into the men's bathroom? But what's more concerning about this video is this woman who came not to my...
No, look, I have accepted that if we're going to move forward and we're just going to get beyond this issue, I'm just going to have to probably pee next to some dudes wearing dresses. That's the price I'm willing. What would happen if they were in the men's bathroom? Nothing should happen. They shouldn't creep on any men. They shouldn't creep on any women. They shouldn't bother anybody, and they shouldn't be bothered. Is that fair? So I think this lady needs to be careful with her messaging, because she's almost implying like, oh, it'd be trouble for this guy if he goes into the guy's room. It's like, no. No. You want to go close the door and sit down and have the whole sit down experience? You want to stand up at the urinal and lift the dress? Lift the kilt? All right. That's the other option, right? Well, we're going to have 3 bathrooms, or how about 4, maybe 5, maybe 6, maybe an infinite number for an infinite number of genders? No, if we just stick to sex, male or female, biology, dudes will be peeing next to people lifting their kilt. All right. So I just got to be careful that we don't. You know, it's almost like with the shutdown. You don't want to say, I heard Scott Adams talking about this. He attributed it to Greg Gutfeld on the 5. He said, you know, you never want to say something stupid like, oh, the Democrats caved. They caved in. Oh, they're a bunch of losers. They caved. Like, that's how you make sure you never get to work with those people again. They caved. But I think that offer needs to be on the table. It's like, yeah, you're a dude and you're dressed how you're dressed. The men's room it is. And no, you're not allowed to be attacked for who you are or what you're dressed as. That seems like the only compromise. Otherwise, it's dudes in locker rooms with ladies again. Dudes in ladies' bathrooms. Anyway, just that particular part, I want to drill down on that.
I can't even imagine what a little girl would feel like. So, you know what, guys? I have nothing against these people. Let them live their life. But you know what? You should not let your kids, your girls in the bathrooms alone. I think there's a reason that these people don't go into the men's bathroom. Because I don't know. What do you think would happen to them if they went into the men's bathroom?
They would use the restroom and leave. And they wouldn't creep on anybody. Right?
But what's more concerning about this video is this woman who came not to my rescue, me, the woman whose rights were violated in my own bathroom that said women, but she came to his rescue, rubbing his arm, telling me to stop and telling him it's okay. It's not okay. We need to do something about this bathroom situation. It's not okay. Think about the little girls. I'm an adult, I can handle it, but little girls, that's scary stuff.
So, do you agree or disagree with that? Marion cat ears? What the? I'd probably say something too. Deb going into lurk and listen mode. All right. Well, at least you're lurking and listening. I'll take it. Marion says, no, you won't deal with them because they don't use the men's restroom. That's the problem. Yeah, it's all part of the kink, right? The creeping kink. I can get away with this. Some. I don't know. Is that 1%, 99%, somewhere in the middle? I don't know. But yeah, some. Cat ears on an adult. It's not Halloween. Yeah, I mean, it's showing the classic earmarks of mental illness. And that feels a little unstable to invite a dude like that into the restroom with people that you love, into the ladies' room. I mean, that's a kink. It's not, it's, which, by the way, we're allowed to have. That's where any of you could make like a cat joke or a Nimbus joke, because this person's wearing cat ears. But yeah, this has got to stop. And we just saw the Gold's Gym. We played you that this week. The lady was really upset with that guy in the locker room. An abuser as well. I believe a convicted abuser of a woman, I believe. So yeah, this is a story that just won't go away. All right, let's take a listen to some shutdown feedback here as we put a fork in the Schumer shutdown. Scott Jennings here says, you need to recognize the sick political game that Democrats are playing right now with President Trump in these selectively leaked Epstein emails. So they're trying to do a RUPAR, is my understanding. They're trying to take out of context clips, just like the BBC did, to make it seem like President Trump was saying something that he wasn't. So here's Scott Jennings with this segment on CNN approaching, now that the Democrats don't have the shutdown to focus on, and they run the media. They run most of legacy media. They need a new top story, and they're trying to make the Epstein thing the top story because they need to distract away from their failures. And look, rubbing it in is going to only ensure that you're not going to get the Democrats to work with you again. But let's face it, they want to destroy us. They want to destroy this country. They're not an honest negotiator of anything. So screw them on one hand. But on the other hand, there are some people that make a little bit of sense, and maybe you can bring a few more of them over to your party. At least just put common sense things out there and you can get some work done, despite the craziness who's probably going to be taking control after Schumer, after Pelosi. I mean, Hakeem Jeffries is ineffective. Is it the Pelosi and Bernie Sanders party? Is it the Ilhan Omar party? Who is the Democrat party? Is it Gavin Newsom? Is it Kamala Harris? I mean, it's a clown show over on the Democrat side. Who leads that party? Mamdani? Who leads the Democrat Party? Obama? Clinton? It's rudderless. It's a boat adrift at sea, at the mercy of the winds. And that's a dangerous spot to be in when you have an out-of-control vehicle like that speeding up and careening toward God knows where. Any madman or mad woman could grab the wheel. But also, good. The worst of the worst aren't clearly running the party like Obama anymore. He's completely lost his power, sway, control. His puppet Biden's out of there. Kamala flopped. So they had to pivot. They had to just go ahead and say, hey, all right, well, let's go back to Epstein now. Oh, are you? And the thought on Epstein, you're telling me you're going to waste your time on the Russiagate hoax if you had actual evidence against Trump that you could have used for 4 years? With Biden, Harris as your puppets, Obama? Come on. And if cooked books were left behind now, let's go to the grand jury testimony. That's what Tim Burchett's doing. Trying to open it up and say, yeah, release the stuff that was actual evidence. Not the stuff Obama's team is trying to frame Trump with. That's what you're hearing in some circles. I don't know what's true. But the stuff that was actually admitted into evidence for the grand jury in Florida, that's the stuff that needs to come out. And it's likely that that's not going to bode well for the Democrats. But they got to have some sort of distraction going at all times. And here's the latest.
Then why is the White House fighting it so much? That's my question here, because I do agree with you. It might die in the Senate. So then why is the White House fighting it like they are?
Because I think they believe that the time spent on this and that the Republicans who've bought into the Democratic tactics on this are ultimately hurting the president's agenda and hurting the overall Republican effort to change this country for the better. The president firmly believes this is nothing but a distraction tactic ginned up by Democrats who didn't care about this one bit until a couple of months ago. They didn't care about it when Joe Biden was the president. Now they care about it to try to tie up this presidency. He's lived through these things before. He's lived through these kinds of, wild goose chases before. It's all designed to tie him up. He recognizes it. He doesn't want his own party members to fall for it, but I think a few probably will.
I think some people might dispute the wild goose chase part, just given obviously the victims that are at the heart of this and the survivors.
No, regarding him, the Democratic allegation, it's thinly veiled, but the Democratic allegation is that Donald Trump did something untoward, unethical, or worse. You hear people say it on television day in and day out. They've not tried to hide the misleading of the American people, and there's not a shred of evidence that Donald Trump has done anything wrong. But that's what they want you to believe. And so if Republicans aid and abet the Democrats in this, you can see why Donald Trump would be mad about it. All I know is that the president has previously expressed some discomfort about the idea of releasing a bunch of files from an investigation that is closed that may contain names of people who did nothing wrong, but would be smeared if the files were become public. I mean, obviously, there were powerful people involved. I don't think anybody disputes that. And I have said repeatedly, and Bakari and I agree on this, if powerful people got away with things, we need to know that, and they do need to be brought to justice. But it is highly likely that there'll be names in these documents of people who literally did nothing wrong, yet would be smeared by just having their name in a file. Regarding affordability, Bakari, I would only ask you this. Why is the party of affordability today spending their entire day talking about Jeffrey Epstein? They got no message on affordability. They're the ones who put us in this crisis in the first place, and they know it. Come out. I find it curious, frankly, that the House Democrats today released these emails on the very day that we were supposed to be talking about the government reopening because the Democrats caved. Magically, these emails appear, but...
See, he said they caved. See, that's almost like if you get a compliment and then you find a criticism of the compliment. It's like all you're doing is you're encouraging the person who's complimenting you to give you fewer compliments. You always encourage the thing that you want. You don't ever try to block that with that energy. Scott just did it.
Supposed to be talking about the government reopening because the Democrats caved. Magically, these emails appear, but you can draw your own conclusions from that. Again, I think these things are being thrown out to try to smear Donald Trump, obviously, to try to change the subject away from the Democratic failures for having shut down the government for 43 days and inflicted pain on the American people. But
it was a lot of pain. It was all unnecessary. It was a pointless shutdown.
Nothing that I have seen in any of these documents prove anything, tell me anything. No one's ever disputed that Donald Trump knew Jeffrey Epstein. Of course, we've known that for years and years and years. We knew that yesterday. We know it today. And I just don't think, frankly, Caitlin, the American people, when they're looking at the pantheon of issues they've got going on right now, I just don't think this one ranks in that high for them.
All right. Okay, so here's more stuff about the Clinton corruption files that were released. Jeffrey Epstein, according to Officer Liu, Jeffrey Epstein alleged that Hillary Clinton had a sexual affair with Vince Foster, her former law partner and White House counsel. Yeah, this goes back to 1993, where Vince Foster was found expired. They say it was self-inflicted. Many have had suspicious eyes on that case for a very long time. A lot of these stories, so we're going to keep bouncing because they do loop back around and they do connect. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene here says the Epstein files must be released. Every name, every page, every connection. I fully support our GOP oversight's investigation, and I'm glad to see the discharge petition has officially reached the 218 signatures needed. Now it's headed to the House floor for a vote. Democrats keep trying to paint President Trump as if he was involved in these horrific acts, but the victims themselves have said that he was not. This shouldn't be about political smears. It should be about justice, and it should be about full transparency for Epstein's victims and exposing his cabal of rich and powerful elites that enabled this. This is the Sean Spicer Show. Take a watch.
I want to start in a place that I don't like to start with, but everybody wants to know what's going on with this Epstein stuff, and there was some news about the Democrats releasing new emails. Anyway, I don't want to tell you what I think. I want to know what you think because you matter more. What do you think about this information? What is this going to get a big reception on the Hill? Is the discharge petition going to pass?
Great question. Well, as you know, my name is on the discharge petition, and today the speaker is supposed to be swearing in the new Democrat member of Congress that says that she will be signing the discharge petition. So that will create 218 signatures to release Thomas Massey's bill to release the Epstein files. But I also serve on the Oversight Committee, and I'm involved in our investigation on the Oversight Committee into the Epstein files. And we have already had a lot of information been released to us. So much information that I haven't made my way through all of it yet. And I actually have a meeting today about those emails that the Democrats had released. Those were.
And by the way, yeah, there's a lot of files that are being sifted through right now. The Clinton stuff, the Epstein stuff, it's a lot of sifting.
Emails I had not seen yet. The one thing that I will tell you is over and over and over again, the victims, the actual victims of Jeffrey Epstein have said that Donald Trump did nothing wrong. And I think that their voices speak the loudest, and those are the women that I'm listening to. And I look forward to seeing them again. I think we're planning to have another press conference next week.
So for the average person that's sitting there, whether it's Georgia or South Dakota, and saying, Congresswoman Taylor, what is it that we want to get? What are you trying to achieve in this? How do you answer that?
Transparency. And I believe the American people deserve it, but I also think the victims deserve it as well. This has been a cover up for decades now, and justice was never served for.
And that says, according to Jeffrey Epstein, Trump asked Ghislaine Maxwell to stop recruiting girls from his Mar-a-Lago spa. Convicted pedo Epstein acknowledged in a bitter email months before his expiration that Trump told Epstein accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell, stop plucking young girls from the spa at Trump Mar-a-Lago Resort to groom an essay. In the email written by Epstein to discredited author Michael Wolff on January 31st, 2019, fewer than 6 months before Epstein's arrest on federal trafficking charges and released by the Democrats on the House Oversight Committee on Wednesday, the disgraced financier responded to Trump's claim to have booted Epstein from the club. Trump said he asked me to resign, Epstein told Wolff. I was never a member, ever.
Them. And I think that tells the message to any rape victim, any victim of human trafficking, any child that is trapped in terrible sexual abuse of one kind or another. That tells them that people actually do care about them, because if this is continued to cover up the most famous convicted pedophile in history, if his files are covered up, then that tells every victim that they don't matter. And Sean, I'll go further with that.
Go further with that. Deb says the fact that Elon said Trump was on the Epstein list is concerning to me. Yes, it is part of the story.
There's also been information that was released that shows that Jeffrey Epstein had very deep ties to Israel and their intel agencies. And I think that is incredibly important information to be released as well.
Okay, so the average person listening to you right now says that makes a ton of sense. Why are Republicans then not all on board with what Marjorie Taylor Greene is trying to do?
Well, I think I'll just be really honest with you. I think most of my colleagues are taking their marching orders, and that comes from the top. I was elected by my district, Sean. I represent the American people, and I'm just going to stick with doing the right thing.
Okay, fair enough. But Congressman Joe Blow says, hey, I just heard Marjorie Taylor Greene on the Sean Spicer show, because that's where they get all their information. And they said that was a really compelling case that she made. Speaker Johnson, why shouldn't I join her? Like, this seems very smart. Give me just an example. Like, what is that leadership message that says don't do it?
Sean, it's hard for me to make excuses for something that I personally don't understand and agree with. Okay. So I can't make excuses for them. I really
Not
wish
excuses, but I just want to know, like, what's the case?
What is, he's just trying to get to why. What is the, and we heard Scott Jennings give a couple of things there, just being on the list. So your name comes up when you run the search of all the stuff. Yeah, being affiliated is not the same as being guilty of doing things. Imagine how many photographs and handshaking and events people like that go to. Bobby Kennedy was on the plane twice. Once in 1993, and I was with my family. And there was another time I took it up to wherever my family Kennedy compound is, up near Chappaquiddick somewhere. Doesn't mean he was on the island. It doesn't mean he was abusing kids. He's on the list. You know, so Deb says the fact that Elon said Trump was on the Epstein list is concerning to her, but it was maybe Trump being so dismissive about Epstein. Nobody, that guy, we're still talking about Epstein. Come on, guys. He's a nobody. It's fake news. Fake news. Yeah, that came off as weird. It did come off as weird. David says Marjorie Taylor Greene talks a tough talk. How about you do something? Well, I mean, they did. They forced a vote on this. Like this person who's getting sworn in, that is the final vote. What did they say? 218 was needed. So it's happening. Like, here comes the avalanche.
I don't know. I don't know.
I
I don't know why anybody doesn't get on board and fully support the release of all this information. It's the easiest thing to do. It's what all of us have said over and over again. It was even said over and over again on the campaign trail. Democrats, they are the ones that look like hypocrites because they could have done it for 4 years when they had full control, but they didn't. And I can't make any excuses for anybody, Sean.
All right. Luke Radowski, who's in the intro to this show where I'm interviewing him at Politicon, he says, Jeffrey Epstein claims Hillary Clinton had a sexual relationship with former attorney Vince Foster. That's the guy that the Clintons offed in more ways than one, allegedly. So is this Jeffrey Epstein to Michael Wolff regarding Trump? Importance high. Nussbaum White House counsel. Hillary doing naughties with Vince. Huh. Michael Wolff wrote, what's the thumbnail on Nussbaum and Foster? The thumbnail. Nussbaum White House counsel. Hillary doing naughties with Vince. Deb says Trump used the Epstein narrative to get elected, so don't sweep it under the carpet. That's gaslighting his supporters. Yeah, it hasn't made a lot of sense why he peeled back the way that he did. I think we're going to find out. We're going to put it together. C3 diagnoses some of this and says, well. So now Epstein, Virginia Giuffre, rest in peace, or Giuffre. I always heard it Virginia Giuffre. So I just used to say Guffrey. Could be Gouffre. Bobby Boucher. So now Epstein, Virginia Giuffre, rest in peace, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Epstein's cellmate claim Trump is innocent. You think Obama personally implicates himself and pushes Russiagate if he has blackmail on Trump? This is not going to work out the way the left thinks it will. What is this? GMAX. I've been thinking about that, Jeffrey Epstein. I want you to realize that dog hasn't barked is Trump. Oh, that's from Epstein. Realize that dog that hasn't barked, that's Trump. Victim spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. Police chief, etc. I'm 75% there. Todd Blanche said, did you ever observe President Trump receive a massage? Ghislaine Maxwell says never. I actually never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody in the times I was with him. He was a gentleman in all respects. This is actual, like, what's this one here? Not off the top of my head. Did you observe them together? No. Virginia Giuffre said she never observed Trump together with Epstein. Not off the top of my head. When did Donald Trump flirt with you? He didn't. That's what's inaccurate. Did you ever see Trump at Jeffrey's home? Not that I can remember. On his island? Not that I can remember. In New Mexico? Not that I can remember. In New York? Not that I can remember. All right. Jeffrey Epstein claimed prosecutors offered his freedom if he agreed to implicate Donald Trump, according to a cellmate. Yeah. Prosecutors offering freedom if he agrees to implicate Donald Trump to frame him. Deb, Trump has lost my trust, unfortunately. I get it, but I'm giving a little bit of slack to see how this plays out. I'm giving a little bit of slack because so many other big picture points are moving in the right direction. That's different from a free pass. That's different from cheerleading. That's different from burying my head in the sand. But I'm willing to kind of ease off a little bit and see how it plays out. Let it play out. I'm not going to turn on Trump yet. No, I'm not. I'm not doing it. I got no other vessel to jump onto. If I find a better option, maybe I will. See, I've found a little bit of grace as far as, yeah, I mean, trust but verify. I mean, that's not really trust anyway. But I have a story in the stack about Lauren Southern, who was pressured by the feds. And here's Fed prosecutors offering freedom if you agree to frame President Trump. I mean, it's bad. It's really bad. Gaina Fauci says the newest Democrat hoax just dropped. Replacing the name Virginia with victim in the Epstein emails is just beyond absurd. Virginia Giuffre repeatedly absolved Trump in any wrongdoing and endorsed him 1 year ago before the election. They are just desperate liars. Anti-Trump author and propagandist Michael Wolff caught trying to coach Jeffrey Epstein on blackmailing Trump. The media is the enemy of the people. I hear CNN planning to ask Trump tonight about his relationship with you, either on air or in scrum afterward. I think you should let him hang himself if he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the House, then give you a valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that's weird language, knowing that that's how Epstein went. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you, or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him generating a debt. Of course, it's possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey's a great guy and has gotten a raw deal and is a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in a Trump regime. Okay. And of course, this is Tim Burchett over here in the comments section. Democrats blocked Representative Tim Burchett's push to bring in the Epstein files straight to the House floor. Quote, I made the motion, they blocked it. If there was something on Trump, they would have released it, end quote. All right, let's bounce over to the Clinton files. These new corruption files regarding the Clintons sounds awfully familiar, says MJ. Do you remember what Patrick Byrne said about Hillary Clinton, Operation Snow Globe? An $18 million bribe to control her presidency? Let's just take a listen to this clip, shall we?
Position, and thus when the cop shows up and tried to sell the cocaine, it's not entrapment, but it's a good sting. And they explained all that to me, and they said, you're going to work for us setting up Hillary Clinton. And I'm not going to go into the details, there was an $18 million bribe that I was to arrange, and I arranged it, and I was to get the person paying, I was to get the bag man into a room with her 7 weeks later on January 14th, 2016, Hillary Clinton in a hotel room, met with the bag man. I can even go into how it was done, but it won't go into that. It's not in her schedule. I do not know. I was not there. Didn't know if she took the bribe or not. 3 days later, I met with the agents. They told me, they told me, you need to forget this whole thing ever happened. You forget every moment of this ever happened, and we mean it, Patrick. It's like serious stuff. And I said, what's going on? There was actually 4 federal people of 3 different flavors in this. And I'm going to give you the words of one of them, but the gestalt of this was confirmed by the other 3. And what was eventually explained to me was this. Patrick, you need to understand that at this point, President Obama has his people across the federal bureaucracy, but especially the Department of Justice. Hillary Clinton is going to be president for 8 years, and nothing's going to change that. But while she's president, think of there as being a Bunsen burner in the DOJ, and the information about the bribes, and there's actually two, that you know about are going to be sitting on that Bunsen burner. The hand on the Bunsen burner is going to be one of President Obama's people. If Hillary's a good girl and she defends Obamacare, that flame stays low. If she's a bad girl and thinks for itself, it gets turned up. And that way, President Obama is going to manage Hillary Clinton for the 8 years she's president. Then she's going to step down and Michelle's going to run. And Patrick, that's the plan. This plan, I later was told, was called Operation Snow Globe. But instead of a penguin, it's Hillary Clinton. And Brennan, and by the way, even though I just mentioned Obama, I have some good reason to believe he's not himself. I think John Brennan's behind all of this, frankly. And I think Brennan blackmails Obama. I think Obama is actually Brennan's guy. But anyway, I think Brennan's behind.
And Brennan's already gone down. Oh, the corruption runs deep. Let's share this one. This was linked to this. Breaking: the Clintons are fooked. Pam Bondi and Kash Patel expose Clinton corruption files. New evidence that Bill and Hillary Clinton's foundation collected donations from foreign and domestic interests seeking influence. Major development: Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI direct. So for the people saying, where is the action? This is action. This is former President Bill Clinton. This is former presidential candidate Hillary Clinton. It's already gone to Brennan. It's already gone to Comey. It's already gone to Bolton. This is the dominoes are clicking, clacking now. And I would encourage everyone, the Davids and the Debs and the Debbie Downers. Wah, wah. Things do appear to be happening. I know it's easy to say, well, they're not in Alcatraz yet. Why hasn't it all happened yet? I get it. I know. Takes a second. And the look, I mean, it's all being laid out there. The auto pen, it's gone after Biden, the former president. So let's collect some wins. We don't need to get bogged down in the quicksand of things that we should be bitching about. I think we need to focus on the ones that are actually achieving the desired result, which is stopping these crime families, the Obamas, the Bidens, the Clintons. This is all enormously important. The walls are closing in, they'd say about President Trump. The walls are closing in. Are the walls closing in? Wow. Are they now? And I think we're close to maybe reversing one of the Trump trial findings, the E. Jean Carroll, where he wasn't even allowed to present defense in his case. Just judicial malpractice, essentially. So we'll see. I'm just suggesting maybe a little bit of grace. Let some of this stuff play out. We don't need to get too freaked out over the things that aren't happening fast enough yet. I feel like we are directionally heading in the right direction on a lot of things. I'm going to try to focus on those. Yes, we're going to talk about the things that aren't going right, of course, but I don't want to lose sight of the wins. There are wins, and there are more wins to be made. So a fresh batch of documents from AG Bondi, FBI Patel, dubbed Clinton corruption files, have been given to Senate Judiciary Committee, uncovering how the Clinton Foundation allegedly solicited donations from foreign entities, bribes, and a U.S. defense contractor to gain influence over Bill and Hillary Clinton. Bribery, blackmail, power, control, treason, perhaps. What do you think these insecure, unsecured cell phones and the insecure, unsecured servers in the closet or the bathroom of your condo? Wasn't it alleged that China had the complete back door and they were reading all of the confidential information, and that was part of how they were getting payback for what they paid you. They didn't pay that money for nothing. They were getting something back in return. That was one of the major allegations at the time. Remember when they tried to go after Clinton for all that stuff? Oh, Miss Clinton, why did you wipe the servers? Wipe them? You mean like with a cloth? She knew it wasn't with a cloth. These people are just sloppy. They're just sloppy, doing sloppy stuff. So the Clinton Foundation allegedly solicited donations from foreign entities, U.S. defense contractor, to gain influence over Bill and Hillary, particularly during their tenure as Secretary of State, her tenure. Whistleblowers flagged the materials, which were withheld from a 2015 corruption probe by the Little Rock U.S. Attorney's Office, abruptly halted by the Obama administration's Justice Department under Deputy AG Sally Yates. The files detail systemic obstruction. Lower-level FBI agents and DOJ prosecutors were blocked from pursuing financial trails or sharing evidence with higher-ups, effectively derailing 3 separate FBI investigations into pay-to-play allegations. Officials familiar with the documents describe it as an effort to obstruct legitimate inquiries by blocking real investigation by line-level FBI agents and DOJ field prosecutors and keeping them from following the money. Yates reportedly ordered the probes shut it down a decade ago. Bondi and Patel, who compiled the evidence over recent weeks, aim to release it publicly by week's end once whistleblower protections are secured. This is from an article in Just the News. The Skiff says Hillary Clinton is alleged to have orchestrated the entire Russia collusion hoax. This wasn't just created to cover up her infamous email scandal, which it was. This was created to cover up decades of crimes and corruption. Who had the most to lose and who had the most crimes under their belt? The Clintons. They all knew that if they didn't stop Trump, they would be indicted. Well, today, one by one, you are witnessing them fall. Let's take a look into this.
FBI Director Kash Patel is urging Congress to publicly release more documents related to the Durham report and the annex as we learn more details about Hillary Clinton's role in creating the Russia hoax. One declassified email exposes how she orchestrated the entire plot. Former House Freedom Caucus chair and Trump's former White House chief of staff, Mark Meadows, joined us last night to detail how Clinton's campaign is working with the deep state.
Durham had a huge investigation that took many months. What we're starting to see is the coordination that happened between the Clinton campaign, between those in the 3-letter agencies that we're all too familiar with. But I think the troubling thing that appears to be coming out is that over and over and over again, there was real pressure at the very top levels of these agencies to have a narrative out there that we knew was false.
And Trump's Justice Department.
We knew it was false from the beginning. This wasn't, oh, I don't know. I saw a story that I believed it was presented one way. I made an opinion on it. I had the facts incorrect. I figured out it wasn't what I thought it was. And now I have a different opinion. That's understandable. This was always knowingly incorrect. This was always a frame job, knowingly and intentionally.
Says this was all by design.
Yep, not a mistake.
President Trump said the Russia hoax was meant to destroy the relationship with Russia, make it impossible to get things under control, get a reset like Hillary said she wanted.
Congressman Byron Donalds. Congressman, great to see you tonight. So is the Oversight Committee working on releasing documents mentioned in the Durham Annex?
Yeah, that's something that we're going to be getting to when we get back, somewhat similar to the subpoenas we issued for the Epstein files that happened about a week and a half ago. So, look, I think this is where we need to go. When it comes to the Durham Annex, we need that information to be public. what is crystal clear is that Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign financed, obviously, the Steele dossier, but behind the scenes was using the elements of our government, our intelligence community. I also believe the FISA court system to not just spy on the campaign of then candidate Donald Trump, but to undermine the presidency of Donald Trump simply because she lost and could not be president. And so this is stuff that we need to release to the American people. We need to get to the bottom of that immediately.
And we need to remember that it was pin the tail on Russia year after year after year after year. 2013, Victoria Nuland overthrowing Ukraine, Burisma, 10% for the big guy, Hunter Biden, the energy companies, the kickbacks, the bribes, the corruption, the drugs, the hookers, the bribery, the blackmail. This is all of it. They've been trying to pin the tail on Russia for a long time. So it's just fit another one of the never-ending opportunities to try to frame Russia, just like they tried to frame Trump. This is a standard operating protocol for the Democrat deep state apparatus.
Congressman Jason Chaffetz here. Yeah, getting those documents is key. They were under subpoena. I know, because I was there and involved in signing such documents.
Hold on. I love how he's like, I know. It's like he's in Fargo, eh? I know.
She lost and could not be president. And so this is stuff that we need to release to the American people. We need to get to the bottom of that immediately.
Congressman Jason Chaffetz here. Yeah, getting those documents is key. They were under subpoena. I know, because
I know. I know. Come on, doesn't he say, like, I can see Russia from my house? I know. David Bann, is that what people sound like in Ontario?
It's his key. They were under subpoena. I know, because
I know. I know.
Subpoena. I know, because
I know.
Subpoena. I know, because I was there and involved in signing such documents, but they weren't released. They were hidden, and now they can be exposed because they have been declassified. The follow-up, though, question, Congressman, is are you going to start to hold hearings? Because if you bring up Clapper and Comey and Brennan and those and ask the same questions that were asked previously, I think it would be fascinating to see if they pled the fifth or if they actually gave a different answer than they did when they were under oath previously answering these questions.
We absolutely should. They should be compelled to testify in front of Congress, both House and Senate. Let's compare with their comments they make to us now to what they said in media and what they said in previous investigations. That's going to be startling for the American people to see. And people might say, well, why are you going back to the well on Russiagate? Because what we witnessed.
Well, I mean, they were never held to account. They were never held accountable for their criminality, for their staging a coup to overthrow the president. That's treason. That's not just politics as usual. Oh, they're misrepresenting my record. Oh, they're talking trash about me. Oh, they're misrepresenting the fact. No, it's not just standard politicking. That's treason. That's a coup. That's Obama, Clinton tied at the hip with Biden. It's the three major ruling parties in the Democrat Party busted, along with their deep state heads. Busted. You're busted. You're caught. You're identified. It's super important. Oh, going back. Why should they have to go back to Russiagate? Oh, I'll tell you why. I know. You got to go back to it because there need to be repercussions for this so it doesn't happen again. Make an example out of them.
But their comments they make to us now to what they said in media and what they said in previous investigations, that's going to be startling for the American people to see. And people might say, well, why are you going back to the well on Russiagate? Because what we witnessed almost 10 years ago now is that the Democrats wielded our government. They wielded the deep state to undermine a president of the United States. If they can do that, they can do anything with our government. You cannot allow something like this to happen. So we have to expose it. All of it needs to be exposed. Those people that were involved, they need to come in, they need to testify, and they need to do it in front of the American people. And if they choose to plead the fifth, then it speaks volumes to what they were doing to then candidate Trump and then, of course, the 45th administration of President Donald Trump.
Lord willing, we're going to get some accountability here. Look, Clapper, Comey, Brennan. I don't think Clapper's had it yet. Isn't Clapper sick? I think that's maybe why they're letting him wither on the vine. Father Time might take care of that. Still, these people need to be held accountable.
Last night, Mark Meadows also told us he witnessed Adam Schiff and other Democrats leaking to the media after leaving the secure SCIF rooms, where they often viewed classified information. Take a listen.
The only thing that's not surprising to me is the fact that there were leaks coming out of the Democrat operatives, many of them, including Chairman Schiff, I was served with. And yet I can tell you that when we were in SCIFs, we could take a break from the SCIF and go out and find the Democrat talking points of what we discussed in the SCIF already given to the legacy media. Should it be investigated further? Absolutely. And those that are guilty should be held accountable.
So, Congressman, based upon that, will the Oversight Committee look into Schiff and other Democrats for leaking to the press during the 2016 Russia hoax?
Oh, we absolutely should. And it shouldn't just be House oversight. It should also be House intel, because what Chief Meadows was saying is stories that I've heard in my time on Capitol Hill, that Adam Schiff primarily and others would read something in the SCIF, go out to the cameras and either tell it to the press or leak it to the press so he could get asked questions. It is undermining the intelligence gathering apparatus, and it also demonstrates the manipulation that the Democrats were engaged in top to bottom, in my view. I'm not just talking about Hillary. I'm talking about the DNC, the White House, members of Congress. It was a top to bottom way of undermining the intelligence gathering operation in order to undermine President Trump during his first term. So it needs to fully be investigated. And yeah, he's a member of the Senate now, but that doesn't matter. Leaking classified information is illegal. No member of Congress is allowed to do that.
Former U.S. Attorney General Bill Barr is said to be headed to the Hill tomorrow for a deposition with the House Oversight Committee in its probe into Jeffrey Epstein. Barr, the first to be questioned in that investigation, which could include former President Bill Clinton, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton as well. In fact, they both have interviews scheduled for the coming months. So I'm just curious, what are you hoping to learn as we continue to delve into this Epstein situation? And as an aside, is there any reason to believe that Bill Barr worked with Fonnie Willis and others down in Georgia? That's something else I think a lot of people are curious about.
There's a lot of Bill Barr frustration. There's a lot. How much of this is going to take down the Clintons? But Bill Barr, I mean, what was more disappointing than Bill Barr? That's at the top of the list somewhere. Christopher Wray, Bill Barr, Pompeo.
I think this is something that might come out in questioning tomorrow with AG Barr. I think on a broader level, what the Oversight Committee wants to accomplish is making sure that we have transparency for the American people. That's why we've issued subpoenas for the testimony from these individuals in closed-door depositions. This is why we've also subpoenaed the entire Epstein file so that information can be reviewed. Obviously, you want to protect victims. That's first and foremost. But that information can be reviewed and released to the American people. So this is a first step along that path. With respect to the Fannie Willis stuff, and that might come up as well. We'll see where it goes.
All right.
Buckle up, everybody. Kenneth drops a super chat. You betcha. Oh, I betcha indeed. Thank you, Kenneth. I love the sound of $5 coins clanking into the jar. Clink, clink, clink. Clink, clink. Thank you very much. All right, so let's take a listen to Speaker Johnson here about Epstein.
He's not saying that what Epstein did is a hoax. It's a terrible, unspeakable evil. He believes that himself. When he first heard the rumor, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down. The president knows and has great sympathy for the women who have suffered these unspeakable harms. It's detestable to him. He and I have spoken about this as recently as 24 hours ago.
The only thing that I can say about President Trump is that he is the only person who, in 2009, when I served a lot of subpoenas.
This is a very important interview right here.
on a lot of people, or at least gave notice to some pretty connected people that I wanted to talk to them. He is the only person who picked up the phone and said, let's just talk. I'll give you as much time as you want. I'll tell you what you need to know, and was very helpful in the information that he gave, and gave no indication whatsoever that he was involved in anything untoward whatsoever, but had good information that checked out and that helped us, and that we didn't have to take a deposition of him.
That was in 2009?
That was in 2009. I can tell you that I talked to President Trump back in 2009, and several times after that. He didn't think that it was a hoax then. In fact, he helped me. He got on the phone. He told me things that were helping our investigation. Now, our investigation wasn't looking into him, but he was helping us then.
So I think the initial messaging of him calling it a hoax it was bad. Or he wasn't able to explain what was the hoax. Did they frame him on the way out the door as a way of protecting themselves from this information coming out? It's like, well, he'll never bust us on the Epstein stuff because now we framed him. He's tied to this now. We put some hoaxes inside of the real stuff. The real stuff is the stuff that stood up to judicial review. You had attorneys parsing out evidence from hearsay. That was in the grand jury trial in Florida. That's what the Democrats keep blocking. They say, no. The real files are over there. Take a look. Maybe even look inside the burn bags. Wink, wink, that we mysteriously left behind. Wink, wink. Wait, I said the quiet part out loud and the loud part quiet. Not explaining what part of it is a hoax. He could have said, there are now files left by Biden and all of his people. Lies, stuff that, frankly, wasn't in the investigation when we made it. All fake news. He could have said something like that. But he didn't. He just said, oh, it's a hoax, or, oh, who cares about that guy? It's like, well, no, we still do. Is he doing this to protect the Clintons, to protect other people? What's up? Amuse says Trump didn't protect Epstein. He exposed him, banned in 2004, informed the FBI in 2005. The whistleblower, not the enabler. Now, what about Clinton and Gates? Democrats aren't very interested in the story when it reveals the corruption in their own party. Salty Goat says, it's about to get real. Bondi and Patel announced the hidden cache of Clinton Foundation files discovered. The corruption is mind-blowing. Who's ready to see some perp walks? Take a listen. Just the news, no noise.
Files. Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel have now shown Congress documents about former President Bill and former First Lady Hillary Clinton's foundation, and evidence that they collected donations from foreign and domestic interest-seeking influence. And the fact that AG Bondi and Director Patel just found this new cache of documents is raising concerns that this evidence was kept from previous prosecutors' investigating the Clinton Foundation and the pay-to-play allegations against the Clinton family, a decade ago. So officials familiar with the matter have said that the documents will make clear that there was some kind of effort to obstruct legitimate inquiries into the foundation by blocking real investigation by line-level FBI agents and DOJ field prosecutors and keeping them from following the money. So you can read more about this bombshell story over at Just the News.
Busted. Now what? The precedent has been set. Now you go after former presidents for criminality. These people were trying to ruin him. They staged a coup. He was shot in Pennsylvania. Multiple impeachment attempts. Framed for J6. Oh, it's an insurrection. Is it now? Is it now? Representative Mark Harris here in North Carolina says, this man survived Vietnam but couldn't escape the serial criminals in North Carolina. Sadly, I'm going to say this. Sadly, North Carolina tends to sort of lead the nation, or it's like top 5 arresting violent, crazy people 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 times, and they just keep letting them out. And they took out Irina Zarutska, say her name, in the comments, Irynazarutska, who survived Ukraine but couldn't survive North Carolina. This Vietnam veteran, David Mize, was tragically murdered, allegedly by a 14-time repeat criminal. This is an unacceptable way to repay a hero. Elon Musk posted this from Lord of the Rings. Kenneth says, yeah, the deep state staged a coup, and I'm not cool with it. Frodo says, what are we holding on to, Sam? That there's some good in this world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for. It's a good moment in the movie. It's a good scene. It's a good movie. Good trilogy. Elon says when Grokpedia is good enough, and they have a long way to go, we will change the name to Encyclopedia Galactica. It will be an open source distillation of all knowledge, including audio, images, and video. Join XAI to help build the sci-fi version of the Library of Alexandria. Yeah, the Van Allen belt. Encyclopedia Galactica. I'm here for it. That works for me. Just in, let's take a listen to this one. This is the incoming mayor of Seattle, Katie Wilson, getting slammed for this speech.
Access to affordable, healthy food is a basic right. We cannot allow giant grocery chains to stomp all over our communities, close stores at will, and leave behind food deserts. Together we can build a Seattle where fresh food is for everyone, not just for those who can afford it. Food deserts are not natural. Corporations create them when they abandon our communities. As mayor, I'm excited to step up and with UFCW explore public option grocery stores to fill those gaps. We will access.
So let's try to make sense of this. These big blue cities won't arrest the people that are robbing the stores out of existence, panhandling in the parking lots, changing the laws so that shoplifters can't be arrested, can't turn a profit, can't keep the store open. And this mayor wants to get mad at the companies that can't make money in a neighborhood, so they leave. You're getting into some weird Leninist, Stalinist, Marxist, communist drivel with this. She will unilaterally ban stores from closing down in her city. The government will force them to stay open. We cannot allow big grocery chains to close stores. This is weird. Marion says she got elected after all the delayed mail-in ballots were finally counted. Really? All right. Eric Daughtry reports FBI Director Dan Bongino scorches Representative Thomas Massie for insinuating that his FBI is retaliating against a whistleblower in the J6 pipe bomb investigation. Bongino posted receipts that Massie is ignoring his call. Quote, this is disgusting, even by the low standards many have for politicians. You know my number, and you're free to call me anytime, but it's easier to tweet and throw BS bombs. You continue to imply that the director and I are targeting investigators in the case. When I spoke with you yesterday, a little after 8 a.m. Eastern time, screenshots attached, I offered you an in-person brief on our work. We spoke for 10 minutes. I called you back a bit after 7:30 p.m. Eastern time to again make that offer. You didn't answer, and you have yet to call me back. On pursuing the pipe bomber suspect, Bongino said, despite the magnitude of challenges we faced, one of our first initiatives was to aggressively pursue a new strategy to investigate the J6 pipe bomb terror attack. We brought in new personnel to take a look at the case. We flew in police officers and detectives working as TFOs, task force officers, to review FBI work. We conducted multiple internal reviews, held countless in-person and SVTC meetings with investigative team members, We dramatically increased investigative resources, and we increased the public award for information in the case to utilize crowdsourcing leads. Receipts attached. He continues, yes, our leadership team will be meeting with FBI team members today, and we will avail them of all the whistleblower resources they need to disclose any evidence of malfeasance in the prior administration. And we will ask about threads that may have gone unpulled under prior leadership because we are passionate about solving this case. But a week of near 24-hour work on recent open source leads in the case has yet to produce a breakthrough. And some of the media reporting regarding prior persons of interest is grossly inaccurate and serves only to mislead the public. I proudly serve in this administration, and I proudly work with Director Patel to reform and advance the crime fighting and national security missions of the FBI. We would love to have you, Thomas Massie, as a partner in this mission, rather than a dog barking behind a fence. Thomas Massie's faced growing criticism for expending far too many of his resources on trying to block, obfuscate, derail, slander the Trump administration. Now, did Trump bring some of that on him by publicly going after Thomas Massie? You're damn right he did. That's why I'm calling for a bourbon summit. I'd like to host a bourbon summit at Thomas Massie's choosing. Do we have to go to D.C.? We'll go to D.C. But I'm calling for a summit between President Trump and Thomas Massie. Can have Diet Coke on one side. I'm going to have a bourbon. I don't know what Thomas Massie's going to have. Maybe some raw milk. Bring Rand Paul in for the heck of it. Marjorie Taylor Greene is invited as well. I'm tempted to invite Candace Owens and Tucker and a whole bunch of people. But I do want to kind of stay focused on trying to bring back some overlap, get those overlapping Venn diagrams of the libertarian and the MAGA movement. Where do you agree? Where can you focus on some things that maybe you don't agree on every particular point of the platform, and maybe you don't need to run Massie out of office. Maybe Massie doesn't have to become hyper-fixated on getting Trump then. That, as is the allegation, at least. So I'm calling for a bourbon summit in the great state of Kentucky at Thomas Massie's chosen location, or I will gladly travel to D.C. to host this summit between President Trump, Thomas Massie, and a few of our closest friends. Wondering if there's any possible way we can get on the same page and work together instead of being a dog barking from behind a fence, as Dan Bongino says. This infighting isn't particularly helpful. I want to stay focused on dismantling the demonic deep state. Some of this infighting is really taking us off course. Time is a ticking. Time, it is a fading. The clock, it is a ticking. I don't know, whatever I'm trying to say. Tick tock, tick tock. Go, 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 go. Get some stuff done. And some good stuff. There's got to be some more overlap. And I don't like seeing Massie and Trump at each other's throats. So I'm just like how Obama had a beer summit. Even if President Trump himself, not going to have the bourbon. It's a good idea. It's a good idea. I also have to add that as Director of Health and Human Services, I don't think bourbon is a very good idea. Alcohol can really spike your blood pressure and lead to a variety of problems in your lifetime. Okay, we can also have wheat juice, organic wheat juice for Bobby Kennedy Jr. or whatever it is that you prefer to drink. I am actually curious, would Bobby Kennedy like my impersonation of him or hate it? I don't know. It could go no other way. I would have to do it, and it would either work or it would not. It could go no other way. Although Bobby doesn't necessarily need to be a part of this meeting. I think it'd be great just because I want to see what he thinks of my impression. Or he's going to... Anyway. So that's my bourbon summit that I'm calling for. Thomas Massey says, I received this troubling letter today from the attorney representing the most recent FBI whistleblower regarding the J6 pipe bomb investigation. Just a reminder to Kash Patel, in case this letter is warranted, federal law prevents retaliation against whistleblowers. Leadership at FBI field office notified management. There will be a management meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. Obvious from the information provided by senior leadership in the Washington field office that this meeting is an attempt to identify the FBI whistleblower who made the protected disclosure to U.S. Congress. Kurt Siuzdek, Esquire. The attempt by the assistant director and other senior leadership in the Washington field office to identify the whistleblower is a reprisal in violation of 28 CFR Part 27. Department of Justice Office of Attorney Recruitment and Management, FBI Whistleblower Court, has upheld the right of FBI employees to anonymously make protected disclosures without being subject to retaliation by FBI management. All right. I found this exchange to be very interesting, people. Very, 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 very interesting. I've quoted this Wesley Clark clip several times. This guy, Coleman Hughes, he's talking with Dave Smith, and he points out some pretty important information about the, you've all heard this Wesley Clark clip. But this was very interesting. I've met Dave. I like Dave. But I think the perspective from this guy on the right, this guy on the left, I think he makes a very cogent point here.
We also have a 4-star general who's on record saying that he saw these plans, that they were going to go overthrow all of these governments. But why is it then that I got 4-star General Wesley Clark, Supreme Commander of the NATO forces? Why is it that he told me that he saw the plans? We know this because the 4-star General Wesley Clark himself said that he was out of power at the time, but he went to the Pentagon and he said that he saw plans. How come I have 4-star General Wesley Clark telling me 10 years prior that we had already made the plan? This has been confirmed by 4-star General Wesley Clark that we were going to topple 7 countries in 5 years. Wesley Clark's 4-star general.
This is a really well put together video accounting for a lot of the times Dave Smith has been saying this. Because then when you watch the clip, you go, oh my God, that's not what he said.
He was the head of NATO, and he told Amy Goodman on Democracy Now! That he saw in late 2001 what is become known as the 7 wars in 5 years. That the plan from the neocons in the government was that we were going to overthrow all these governments in the region in the next 5 years.
Let's talk about this Wesley Clark memo that he never saw. Okay, so 4-star General Wesley Clark.
He never saw it?
Yeah, he says so in the C-SPAN interview. You don't remember this? He's talking about it. He says
that
this guy.
He said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, this is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years.
Let's be very clear with what Wesley Clark is saying and with what he's not saying.
He said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, this is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years. I said, is it classified? He said, yes, sir. I said, well, don't show it to me.
Don't show it to me. He never saw it. He doesn't know what was real.
Rumsfeld, whose sometimes abrasive approach often alienated other cabinet members, produced 20 to 60 snowflakes, these memos, snowflakes a day, 20 to 60 a day. Regularly poured out his thoughts in writing as the basis for developing policy. Every once in a while, one of these ranting Rumsfeld notes to Condi would come. You can almost hear the eye roll. Like, this dude Rumsfeld is drowning us in his little thoughts and his stupid memos. Do you have any evidence that this memo was actually important as opposed to one snowflake in a shifting strategy of 60,000.
The fact is that much of what he said came true, and that's what makes it interesting.
That's how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years.
And that this was part of a strategy to overthrow 7 governments in 5 years. And all of them except one have been done. It's literally, he names 7 countries and there's 1 to go. And that one, by the way, happens to be the one that Donald Trump is flirting with a war with right now, Iran. All the rest of them have happened.
Starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran.
3 of the countries out of 7, almost half the countries have not done regime change.
Somalia, Sudan,
and Syria, Lebanon.
Lebanon.
Happened.
Starting with Iraq and then Syria.
Iraq and Syria, yes. Lebanon, no.
Lebanon, Libya, Somalia.
Libya, yes. Somalia, no.
Sudan, and finishing.
Sudan, no.
Off Iran.
3.
Not Iran yet. That's 4 out of 7.
3 of the countries out of 7, almost half the countries have not done regime change,
yeah.
Let alone within 5 years, let alone in the specific order prescribed by the memo. And not to mention, we did do regime change in countries not on the memo at all, like Liberia. So there's actually no variable from the memo that actually matches our foreign policy. And
Coleman, my argument here isn't that, again, I'm not saying that memo came to life and exactly what was written down on that has happened. Of course, there were more memos. Of course, there were more decisions that were added in afterward. I'm saying that a 4-star general said the decision had been made, that he had sources in the Defense Department.
Based on what?
The memo.
In the Defense Department.
Who is basing it on what? The memo.
There might be lots of memos that go out every day, but a memo that says we're going to fight, we're going to topple 7 countries in the next 5 years, a pretty big memo. That's not just one of the regular
do you
memos.
Have any
That's the point.
Evidence it was a big memo?
That is a assumption. This is just a great point because I've watched Dave Smith. I've repeated this line. Not that I was repeating Dave's line, but the zeitgeist had us saying that a long time. But I mean, General Wesley Clark says, is that classified? He goes, oh, yeah. He goes, well, don't show it to me then. He's literally saying, I never saw any primary source documentation to validate the claim. And then to just say, oh, well, it was a big memo. Do you have any evidence that this was a big memo and not one of 600,000 nonstop rantings, babblings, if you will? Brian babblings? What is it, Deb? What were we calling? What's the wordplay where? Babbling Brian. Your nickname's the Babbler. There you go. Anyway, I just think this is very important because looking back on it, we've been misreporting this. He literally says, I didn't confirm this. Some guy said that he saw something. This is very telephone game. But if you had the memo and you got to see it directly from the source, that's a very different story. And it didn't play out exactly how it was claimed it would. Definitely not in the same order either.
Every day, but a memo that says we're going to fight, we're going to topple 7 countries in the next 5 years, a pretty big memo. That's not just one of the regular
do you
memos.
Have
that's
any
the point.
Evidence it was a big memo? Your only evidence is the guy who never read it.
Your evidence is the guy who never read it. When you frame it that way, you go, oh, shit. Your only evidence is the guy who never read it. Good catch by this guy. It's a respectful conversation, which I appreciate. But it's an excellent point.
You realize how ridiculous this is. You couldn't, if you were a historian writing a book, you'd have to cut this out of the book because you're relying on the hearsay of someone that never even read the document, much less you or I have never read the document. And we know that they were writing 60 documents a day that Condoleezza Rice was putting in the trash. It's a ridiculously low bar of evidence you'd have to consider this memo and everything implied by it important.
I mean, I don't know how else to say this, dude. This just feels so nutty to me. I guess we'll just leave this up to people. Okay. And I'm not a historian writing a book. I'm a guy talking about these issues to the American people. So I don't know. You can decide whether you find that to be a pretty interesting story or not.
Your only evidence is a guy that never read it. Very calm. Very well done. Okay, so Dave Smith was trending. I had to see why, and I saw both of these stories. This is a conversation about Ben Shapiro. Would he do a debate?
Like of even the Ben Shapiro audience, how would so many of them not recognize that, like, hey, this is the exact opposite of what we really got into you for?
It's a big, beautiful memo. They said, sir, what about the memo? I said, it might be the memo-iest of the memos. In fact, in that Foo Fighters commercial, it was not Mentos, it was Memos. Look a little closer. Zoom in. It was my idea. Ask Dave Grohl.
We got into you because you were like the guy doing the opposite thing. At this point, it is so obvious. Forget even me. I mean, I've been, trying to get Ben Shapiro to debate me for a long time. Ben Shapiro has to debate Nick Fuentes. How could he not? How could he not at this point? That
especially
would be
especially when his criticism to Tucker is like, oh, he didn't ask enough tough questions. It's like,
yeah.
I guarantee you Nick would answer the phone immediately.
Yeah, dude, I promise you Nick would do that shit. I mean, I can't.
You more conversation is needed. More conversation, not less. I am fully in favor of it. Not being a super Nick fan, I'm not very familiar with him other than some clips here and there. The many criticisms against Ben Shapiro and his allegiances, bring it. Have that debate. Do it. I would love to moderate that debate as well. So I'd like to host a bourbon summit with Diet Coke and bourbon summit, President Trump and Thomas Massie. We'll include Rand Paul. Also, I would like to host the debate between Nick Fuentes and Ben Shapiro. I want the mute button. I want to be able to mute people and ask the questions. And we'll also go through a list of submitted questions, like from the audience. And I'll find some good ones. It'll be good.
Speak for Fuentes, but Fuentes would do that. And Can you tell me that Ben Shapiro, Nick Fuentes isn't like the biggest political event of our lifetime? So how do you not do that at this point? It's a very weird thing. I said that, and I probably spoke in where I'm not really in a position to say that when I was debating Seth Dillon on Piers Morgan's show. And I said, oh, you think you're so tough? You go debate Nick Fuentes. He'll do it. And I probably shouldn't have said that because I can't speak for him. I don't know if he actually it doesn't make sense for him to do that debate at this point. But if Ben Shapiro wanted to debate Nick Fuentes, everyone knows that that's the biggest show on the internet right now. So why not? If your whole thing was always, we have to have these conversations, we have to debate, and you're criticizing Tucker for not going at him hard enough, then why not do it? And I think the fact is that we all know Ben Shapiro won't do that. We all know, even you could clip me saying that and go, oh, the challenge was, he won't do it. Same way he won't debate me. He's not going to do that. And the reason is because he doesn't think he can win it. And I think on some level, everybody knows that. And at this point, at least. And so the thing is, okay, he knows he can't win the debate. And why is that? And it's not because Nick Fuentes' most wildest fucking hits that Ben Shapiro can play on it, the thing he could take out of context, or even if it is in context, the worst, sarcastic joke Nick's ever made. It's not because that's right. That's not why Ben Shapiro can't win the debate. It's not because Nick is right to say Hitler has aura or whatever, or to leave it ambiguous or even support shit about the Nazis. That's not why Ben Shapiro can't win the debate. That would be low-hanging fruit for Ben Shapiro to make it more easy for him to win the debate. The reason why he can't win the debate, even though Nick is taking the most unpalatable, positions you could imagine, is because Ben Shapiro's taking an even more fucked up position. He's supporting Israel doing what they're doing right now.
It's an ongoing part of the MAGA civil war. Got to figure out the Israel question. How much influence? And by the way, it's directly connected to the Epstein situation that was alleged to be a honeypot operation with heavy Israeli influence for political power and control, bribes and blackmails, power, power, power. Maybe true, maybe not. Seems to be the agreed upon. Well, yeah, obviously that's what it was. Borne out through criminal court cases. Well, they haven't released the files in Florida yet. Is that coming? Hopefully. The Democrat judges appear to be blocking it. I believe that's how it's being held up. I think it's the judges. It might be the Congress, but I think it's the judges in Florida that are holding it up. But yeah, this conversation's got to happen. It's got to be front and center. There's a lot of people that feel that there's too much power and control, too much leverage, too much being led around by a chain or a leash. I just say, good, more conversation. I'm here for it.
And so if you're supporting Israel doing this shit, you can't even win a debate against that. That's the truth, right? So this is the problem. We can't even have a conversation where Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro are talking about canceling anyone because they're just like public merchants of death.
Yeah, totally. Didn't Gene Epstein try to set up a debate with you and Ben, and he just
he said he was going to try. I knew it wasn't going to happen, but yeah, he offered. I think he offered like good money for it too, but that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, you did.
So there we are. Check this out. You know, I must admit that self-driving cars, to me, have always felt like the potential for calamity in the bad direction. That the self-driving cars would malfunction, the self-driving cars would be commandeered. Those concerns. This is a video of the opposite. This video is posted. Let me full screen this. FSD saves lives. It happened to me tonight. Going through New Mexico from the Tesla shareholders meeting, the head-on collision at 75 miles an hour with oncoming traffic was averted. Just a broken mirror, busted window, and a bit of a shaken mind. Thank you, Elon. Thank you, Tesla. Thank you, Cybertruck. Watch this. Driving down the road. And then, oh, right there. Both lanes of traffic filled with oncoming traffic. Look at that. And this vehicle veered out at the last minute to avoid it. Look at that. I mean, that could have easily ended up taking several lives. Wow. I mean, it's just instantaneous thinking. Yeah. So full what is it called? Full self-driving mode. It saves lives. Okay, AP News here reporting. California revokes 17,000 commercial driver's license, the CDLs, for immigrants. Well, is it for illegal aliens? Josh Funk writes this today. They discovered the expiration dates went past when the drivers were legally allowed to be in the U.S., state officials said Wednesday. Announcement follows harsh criticism from the Trump administration about California and other states granting licenses to people in the country illegally. The issue thrust in the public consciousness in August when a tractor-trailer driver not authorized to be in the U.S. made an illegal U-turn and caused a crash in Florida that ended 3 people. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said Wednesday that California's action to revoke these licenses is an admission that the state acted improperly, even though it previously defended its licensing standards. California launched its review of commercial driver's license it issued after Duffy raised concerns. After weeks of claiming they did nothing wrong, Gavin Newsom and California have been caught red-handed. Now that we've exposed their lies, 17,000 illegally issued trucking licenses are being revoked. Duffy said, referring to the state's governor. This is just the tip of the iceberg. My team will continue to force California to prove they have removed every illegal immigrant from behind the wheel of semi-trucks and school buses. And of course, by the way, if you're joining the show late, the longest government shutdown in U.S. history ends after 43 days as Trump signs the funding bill. The U.S. Mint presses the final pennies as production ends. After more than 230 years, pennies are gone. Epstein email says Trump knew about the girls, as the White House calls its release a Democrat smear. Newsom tells AP the 8 senators who struck the shutdown deal aren't alarmed enough about Trump. All right. Here's the Fox News report. The California Governor Gavin Newsom issued 62,000 CDLs to illegal aliens.
A federal audit found California had issued 62,000 CDLs to drivers who entered illegally, John, or do not have a permanent legal status as required by the feds. California sanctuary laws prohibit asking applicants their immigration status. Governor Newsom said there's not a problem. Back to you.
Did I hear you right? Did you say 62,000?
That's correct.
Oh, my goodness.
It's a federal audit.
William Langeness for us. William, thank you so much. Let's bring in the...
A federal audit found California had issued
62,000
CDLs to drivers
that somebody could sign off on
or do
that.
not.
It's astonishing that somebody could think that that's okay. The Democrats have just completely lost the plot. Marion says, whoever allowed that has got to be punished. No more slaps on the hand. Yeah. What is that? AI has no emotional interference, like the Cybertruck getting out of the way. Yeah, it's just act and react, movement. Secretary Duffy says California knew the rules. They promised they would comply. They illegally upgraded this foreigner's license anyway. Now 3 innocent souls are gone. Newsom lies and people die. This is what we're talking about. It's just amazing, the things that the Democrats have done and what they've been allowed to get away with.
Had Gavin followed our rules per DOT, this guy would have never been on the road. 3 more people would be alive. So we're doing this because we're seeing a lot of foreigners, those who can't speak English, on our roadways, and it's harming the American citizens who want to be safe as they're bringing their kids to school, they're going out for groceries, or they're going to work. And so what we've done to start, we pulled $40 million, John, from California on one issue. But they're at the cusp of losing another $160 million. I don't want to take their money, but we will hold their money back if they don't comply with these really important rules. So Gavin Newsom has to get on board. Had Gavin followed our rules per DOT, this guy would have never been on the road.
We're not asking for anything irrational there. Okay, RFK Jr. making an announcement about hormone therapy saving lives. There were bad reporting. There was bad reporting. There were bad reports about this.
For more than 2 decades, the American medical establishment turned its back on women. Millions of women were told to fear the very therapy that could have given them strength, peace, and dignity through one of life's most difficult transitions, menopause. That ends today. The FDA is initiating the removal of a broad black box warnings from hormone replacement therapy products for menopause. We're challenging outdated thinking and recommitting to evidence-based medicine that empowers rather than restricts. When prescribed responsibly and started early, hormone replacement therapy transforms the lives of women. Hormone replacement therapy has been found to reduce the risks of cardiovascular disease and mortality by as much as 50%, Alzheimer's disease by 35%, bone fractures by 50 to 60%, as well as reducing cognitive decline and all-cause mortality. In other words, extending the lives for as much as 10 years.
That's a pretty big deal. Millions of women were told to fear the very therapy that could have given them strength, peace, and dignity. Removing broad black box warnings from hormone replacement therapy products for menopause. We're challenging outdated thinking and recommitting to evidence-based medicine that empowers rather than risks. When prescribed responsibly and started early, hormone replacement therapy transforms the lives of women. All right. Here's another angle for hormone replacement therapy. Greatest screw up in modern medicine.
I was really struck by something that you said at that announcement, that there's no medication that can improve the health of most women more than hormone replacement therapy. That's huge.
Yeah,
arguably, with the exception of antibiotics and maybe a few other medications, there may be no medication that improves the health outcomes of women at a population level more than hormone replacement therapy initiated within 10 years of the onset of menopause. Profound reductions in fatal heart attacks, up to 50%. Now, that's the number one cause of death in women. We're stopping this fear machine with the black box warnings being removed, and we're getting back to science because women deserve the same good data that we use for men's health. Women deserve to know the truth, and that is it is a nuanced topic. But the vast majority of women who go through menopause, that is 2 million women each year, are great candidates for the life-changing and life-saving effects of hormone replacement therapy. I think medical dogma takes on a life of its own. We as a medical profession got opioids are not addictive wrong for 15 years.
Yeah.
We got saturated fat causes heart disease wrong for 50 years. We tend to have a groupthink, and this is probably an example of a male-dominated historic profession that engaged in a paternalistic approach to an issue of women's health. And so this administration is correcting the record on women's health and giving these issues the attention they deserve.
So that's good information to have. There's just so much bad information that we have to correct.
Well, there's never been a study that shows that it increases that HRT hormone replacement therapy for women increases mortalities from breast cancer. There has never been that study. There's recently been a meta-review of 30 largest studies, 26,000 women, that show if you start taking it prior to 60, it actually dramatically reduces your risk of breast cancer. Not only that, but it drops the heart attack risk in women by 50%. It drops, there are studies that show it drops Alzheimer's risk by 35%. Cognitive decline by 50 to 60%, and bone fractures by 50%. It also increases happiness. It increases satisfaction in life. It reduces depression. It's really a life-changing intervention. And as you said, prior to that study came out, that very, very weak and deceptive study that came out in 2002, 1 out of every 4 American women were on this therapy. Today, it's 1 in 20. And there's 80 million American women who we believe could get a profound advantage from using hormone replacement therapy. But that black box warning has just frightened people, and it should never have been put on there. And we are now applying gold standard science, and we're taking it off.
That sounds like a good thing. This is a report here. Lauren Southern, you may know her. She says intelligence agents showed up at her door late last year, and she said, leave. They proceeded to call me from anonymous numbers repeatedly, contacting my gym, told me they won't go away unless I built a relationship with them as an asset. Your audience will never know. Returned to speak with me multiple times, claiming they were giving me last chances before they threw me to the wolves. They told me that the courts wouldn't care if I was actually guilty or not. Someone had to take the fall, and I could ensure it wasn't me. I was repeatedly implied to me that you're smart. You know, it's not what's true that matters. It's the perception. I was made to believe a potential arrest was coming, made to believe I could never travel to the U.S. again without being arrested by the FBI, made to believe I might not be around to see my child grow up. None of these things were true. I can enter the U.S. without issue. I was never arrested. I did nothing wrong. I was psychologically manipulated for months in an attempt to turn me into a government asset. We have only one party consent in Canada, and I believe it's in the public interest for people to understand how this works. And I know I'm not the only one. I have nothing against the agent. He was just given instructions and a job. But I have no doubt if his job were to destroy my life and try to jail me based on perception, not truth, he would do it. I'm just doing my job as well by publishing this. These are just a few excerpts cut from hours of conversations to give people an idea of our conversations. John Wheaton here reminds us, go and do. Get after it. Make decisions. Act on it. Take it off the to-do list. That's always good advice. Carolyn Levitt has some strong words about the Democrats trying to pivot off their failed shutdown to some Epstein stuff.
Shows how this is truly a manufactured hoax by the Democrat Party. For now they're talking about it all of a sudden because President Trump is in the Oval Office. But when Joe Biden was sitting in there, the Democrats never brought this up. This wasn't an issue that they cared about because they actually don't care about the victims in these cases. They care about trying to score political points against President Trump, as we have, of course, seen with this government shutdown. And this entire thing, again, it's not a coincidence to the American people at home. There are no coincidences in Washington, D.C. And it is not a coincidence that the Democrats leaked these emails to the fake news this morning ahead of Republicans reopening the government. This is another distraction campaign by the Democrat and the liberal media, and it's why I'm being asked questions about Epstein instead of the government reopening because of Republicans and President Trump.
Because of Republicans and President Trump. Let's do a flashback here. Gaina Fauci shows Hillary Clinton pushing the Trump collusion hoax that she made up herself. Then her and Maddow plea for China for help. Hillary should have been arrested a long time ago.
You know, the only other adversary of ours who's anywhere near as good as the Russians is China. So why should Russia have all the fun? And since Russia is clearly backing Republicans, why don't we ask China to back us?
I hereby tonight ask China.
That's right. And not only that, China, if you're listening, why don't you get Trump's tax returns? I'm sure our media would richly reward you. You know?
Wow. Dump it all out on the table. Oh, Hillary. Hope you had a good run. Because, TikTok. Gaina Fauci says, you know, it's a bad hoax when CNN has already had to debunk it. CNN Politics says the emails were released Wednesday by Democrats on the House Oversight Committee, who obtained them after subpoenaing Epstein estate earlier this year. Trump did not receive or send any of the messages, which largely predated his time as president, and he has not been accused of any criminal wrongdoing in connection with Epstein or Maxwell. GOP members of the House Oversight Committee identified the person as Virginia Giuffre, one of Epstein's most prominent survivors, who died at her own hands allegedly in April, and accused Democrats of hiding her name because she had not alleged Trump to have done anything wrong. In her book, Giuffre writes that her father, who was a maintenance worker at Mar-a-Lago in 2000, got her a job as a locker room attendant. She wrote, Trump couldn't have been friendlier, telling me it was fantastic that I was there. Do you like kids? He asked. Do you babysit at all? He explained that he owned several houses next to the resort that he lent to friends, many of whom had children who needed tending. Hey, for Marion and John, people in Texas, here's the Dallas Cowboys co-owner, Charlotte Jones, has thoughts about Bad Bunny performing at the Super Bowl halftime show.
What are your thoughts on Bad Bunny performing at this year's Super Bowl?
I think it's awesome. And I think our Latina fan base is amazing. And I think when you think about the Super Bowl, you want the #1 performer in the world to be there. We're on a global stage, and we can't ever forget that. Our game goes out to everybody around the world. And to get the premier entertainer to want to be a part of our game, I think is amazing. And I think that we have a mixed culture. I mean, our whole society is based on immigrants that have come here and founded our country. And I think we can celebrate that. And I think the show's going to be amazing.
You don't think at a time when his comments were divisive as it relates to President Trump, when everyone is just seeking this political unification, that you'd want somebody who maybe didn't touch politics to be on that stage?
Yeah, I don't think our game's about politics. I don't think people tune in to look at politics. We do everything we can to avoid politics. And I think in that moment that people will be watching the game, they'll be celebrating music, and nobody will be thinking about what's comments on the left side, what comments on the right side, that this is about bringing people together.
Yeah, I guess.
What are your thoughts on Bad Bunny performing at this year's Super Bowl?
In what universe is Bad Bunny the premier entertainer? Most people have never even heard of him and couldn't name a song for $100. This selection was intentionally divisive by the NFL, who seems to love their division for some reason. Let me tag at TNM Football. Our show will be coming up at 4 p.m. today. We will talk about that. Savannah Hernandez. Here's a CBS reporter standing across the street from the mob who's calling to TPUSA attendees, saying that last night's events were mostly peaceful. You can't make this up. Conservatives getting punched in the face, smoke bombs being lit, and violence is peaceful per the media.
Our Amanda Harry is live on the scene there where protesters also showed up. We've already actually seen at least one fight break out. Amanda.
Yeah, things have been lively here. While that Turning Point USA event is still happening inside, protesters have been out here for hours. You can see them still here behind me. They have been chanting, just a very, very lively scene out here. While things have been mostly peaceful, there have been some tense moments. Earlier this evening, there was a scuffle that broke out where two men started fighting. UC Berkeley police had to break up that interaction. Later, someone was throwing smoke bombs and a car backfired, leading some of the people who were protesting to run away. The protest was put together by students.
No. That wasn't two people in a scuffle. One person was the victim of a robbery and then was punched in the face 20 times. Call it what it is.
This evening, there was a scuffle that broke out where two men started fighting. UC Berkeley police had to break up that interaction. Later, someone was throwing smoke bombs and a car backfired. Leading some of the people who were protesting to run away. The protest was put together by students organizing for liberation.
By the way, when do cars even backfire anymore?
Students say they don't believe UC Berkeley should host a large Turning Point USA event like this one, but other people are happy to be here for the event.
Turning Point USA should not be here, and they are like a fascist organization, and nobody here agrees with what they are saying. And obviously Charlie Kirk has been a big issue with like a lot of college campuses and people on college campuses. So we just think obviously I didn't really follow him a lot, but knowing what he did and knowing the things that he was saying, it's just like vile and disgusting. So we don't want to support his organization, and I don't think that the Berkeley chancellor should have let them come here.
Yeah, if they don't agree with everything I have to say, then they shouldn't be allowed to talk. Mostly peaceful fight is what they were going for. a nice, mostly peaceful fight. All right, here's another interview with President Trump here that has been deemed to be catastrophic.
There's never going to be a country like what we have right now.
And does that
the
mean
Republicans have to talk about it, Laura.
And does that mean the H-1B visa thing will not be a big priority for your administration? Because if you want to raise wages for American workers, you can't flood the country with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of foreign workers.
You also do have to bring in talent. When
we have plenty of talented people here.
No, you don't.
We don't have talented people here?
No, you don't have certain talents, and people have to learn. You can't take people off an unemployment line and say, I'm going to put you into a factory where we're going to make missiles, or I'm going to put
How did we ever do it before?
Well,
I'll
give you an example. In Georgia, they raided because they wanted illegal immigrants out. They had people from South Korea that made batteries all their lives. You know, making batteries are very complicated. It's not an easy thing and very dangerous. A lot of explosions, a lot of problems. They had like 500 or 600 people, early stages, to make batteries and to teach people how to do it. Well, they wanted them to get out of the country. You're going to need that, Laura. I mean, I know you and I disagree on this. You can't just say a country's coming in, going to invest $10 billion to build a plant, and going to take people off an unemployment line who haven't worked in 5 years, and they're going to start making missiles. It doesn't work that way.
All right. So yeah, Matt Moore says whoever's in Trump's inner circle that's been telling him that we need more H-1B visas, 50-year mortgages, and 600,000 Chinese students need to be fired immediately. Well, my understanding is the 600,000 Chinese students, that's 2 years worth, and that's already the existing number. That is my understanding. The 50-year mortgages, that's stupid. What we need to be floated is an idea of an interest-free mortgage. Where every American can have an interest-free mortgage. You want to fix the country? It's a good way to do it. You want to build generational wealth? That's a good way to do it. I think I saw this lady out there with Lindell TV. She was at the DC Gulag. I don't know her. Kara Castrunuova. Asking about SNAP benefits, and she goes unhinged, melting down over the cross that she's wearing. She says you should be ashamed if you're a Christian. Yeah, okay. John Fetterman going on CNN here, dropping a little bit of truth.
You said, quote, I've drunk deeply of the venom of both the left and the right. As a connoisseur, I can confirm that the most poisonous, the bitterest, is from the far left. That is pretty remarkable to hear you say that as an elected Democrat. Why?
No. It's just been my personal experience on this thing. And when I asked my digital team, I said, we're on all the platforms, really what's kind of the harshest, what's kind of the most personal? And the answer was immediate. He said, oh, blue sky, it's blue sky. And the difference is, the right would say really rough things and names, some names I won't repeat on TV, but the on the left, it was like they want me to die, or that we're cheering for your next stroke, or that's terrible that depression won. Why couldn't it depression won? And I hope your kids find you. They even have like the graphic, a GIF where they have like a stroke, in your head, cheering at that. Yeah, and they said that. I remember one. They claimed, "Oh, the doctor let us down, and why did they have to save his life?" Just really like. I just can't imagine. People are wishing, I wish he dies, or I want him to die. literally cheering for a stroke. And I don't know what the kind of a place where that comes from. I mean, that's much different than just calling me a name. And that's really been consistent, in that community online.
The Daily Caller reports a U.S. nuclear bomber fleet shares a fence with a trailer park linked to Chinese intelligence. Here it is. So it's one thing for a Chinese couple to buy a trailer park. Here it is. This is thanks to Google Image. It is another thing for them to go to great lengths to hide who they are, including using multiple shell companies to conceal their identities. Why is this all important? Because they bought a trailer park in the middle of Missouri, no disrespect to Missouri. It's at the foot of the runway where America's largest fleet of B-2 bombers take off. So you can see on the map there, the B-2s are just on the other side of those trees. So here's the map. The trailer park is right behind the runway, less than a mile away. So in the event of war, our B-2 bombers would be taking off over Chinese-owned land. It's even more alarming when you factor in that the shell companies trace back to a convicted fraudster with alleged ties to the Chinese Communist Party. This is happening in Republican Congressman Mark Alford's district in the state of Missouri. As I said, no disrespect to Missouri. I don't think you buy a trailer park in your Whitman Air Force Base in Missouri as an investment when you're sitting in Beijing going, honey, what could we invest in? Oh, I know. Let's find a trailer park.
And get a lot of double wides.
Right.
I don't think they're interested in that, Leland. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, the Whiteman Air Force Base is slap dab in the middle of our district, home of the B-2 stealth bomber, soon to be home of the B-21 Raider, which is coming in the not-too-distant future. And it's going to exponentially increase the size of that force there on Whiteman Air Force Base. And
make the Chinese investment all the more valuable.
Exactly.
So, no, but
we've got to get them out of there. Well, all right, so this transaction, according to the research that I've done on this article, happened way back in 2017. In 2024, in January, our then Governor Parson, put out an executive order for all military bases within the state of Missouri. You cannot be a citizen or a company in a foreign adversarial nation, as so designated by our State Department, and own property within 10 miles of a DOD, a Department of Defense base. I didn't think that was good enough. We need to expand that, and that's why I filed the American Land and Property Protection Act, basically that says if you are a member of a foreign adversarial nation, a citizen or a company of those, China, Iran, Venezuela, Cuba, North Korea, Russia, you cannot own even an outhouse in the United States of America. You cannot go to those countries.
Okay, but you're not going to do that because you're not going to be able to take land away from all the Chinese people who own condos.
And here's something else, Leland. There is a Department of Treasury has the Committee on Foreign Investments in the United States of America called CFIUS. They are supposed to be taking a look at this. Under the Biden administration, they were not doing their job. In fact,
this happened in the Trump administration, the first Trump administration.
And whatever department was running it at that time did not do their job, and they somehow overlooked. They started to put some regulations in place where they were going and looking at these transactions.
So let's look at this.
They didn't have Whiteman Air Force Base on the list of those. And
why would we have a list? Why would we have the Air Force Base with one part of the nuclear triad on the list?
It's almost as if the previous administrations of Biden, Obama were setting us up to be conquered, to flood our nation with Trojan horses, with illegal aliens, with military-aged fighting men. It's almost as if. It sure does kind of feel that way, doesn't it? And this Chinese connection, just leaving ourselves this vulnerable, and Hillary and the private servers and the bribery, the blackmail, the corruption, selling our country down the river for ill-gotten millions.
Who knows? Chinese companies buying land near U.S. military bases, okay? So the Chinese have a plan to do this, right? And sometimes they conceal it through multiple shell companies. Sometimes they just go out and do it. And these are very strategically picked bases. Fort Bragg, Naval Air Station, Norfolk, Wright-Patterson, Whitman Air Force Base as well. I get having new legislation and this, that, and the other thing. But right now you have B-2 bombers flying over Chinese-owned land. How do you stop that right now?
We get CFIUS under the Treasury Department, and I'm on the Financial Services General Government Appropriations Subcommittee, which oversees that, and we get them on the ball.
Good times, eh? Geiger Capital
iyo
shares this.
taageerada weyn ay u hayaan horumarka waxbarasho
This is a public school in Minneapolis. You wouldn't believe
ee
it.
iskuulkan intii lagu guda jiray munaasibadan ayaa waxaa la guddoonsiiyey abaalmarino
Said Minnesota was 99% white in 1970. Not 1770, 1970. Don't be gaslit. This is all new. Turning these satellite cities into mini Somalia, mini pick your nation. Instead of becoming a melting pot, they're becoming enclaves.
kala duwan.
Very intentional.
Ardayda soo bandhigtay dadaalka muuqda saddexdii bilood ee ugu horreysay sanad dugsiyeynta dugsiga, kuwaasoo dhammaantood ay muujiyeen farxad iyo
Frederick County Public Schools. I guess there's a transgender student who abused numerous other children at this California school. This man showed up and unleashed on the school board, allegedly. Here we go.
Class of 97. I made it halfway through 1995, but for some reason I was too ill-behaved to even make it through Heather Ridge. I know it's hard to believe. But I identify as Ray Gallagher, and I'm going to go by Ray Gallagher for the rest of this speech. So you guys had 6 kids raped, and the first thing you thought to do was to start to ban free speech and require driver's licenses in order to stop citizens from calling you out on your bull. Well, it's not going to work.
Mr. Porter, I'm going to stop.
Sorry, but
I'm
that
going
is
to
just
stop you
formal
right
language.
there.
I'm sorry. There is nothing disruptive about the content of my free speech. Do you want to talk about Cohen versus California? Did you stop my time? You did.
It is stopped.
I'm going to continue. No, it didn't stop. It's still counting. I'm looking at it. It says 2 minutes.
I'm going to give you one more chance, and then I'm going to ask you to
what?
sit down.
For what?
To abide by our new policy.
You can't ban specific words. My particular view of your policies, the fact you had all these kids raped by a transgender person, and then you keep pushing transgender stuff on children, is that your policy is completely out of line with America. Now, this is a transgender flag, and I would like to show you demonstrably what America and the voters think about the transgender ideology being pushed on children. So that right there is what America thinks of your transgender policy 443. Most people don't support this garbage. You literally support chopping off appendages of children and giving them puberty blockers that make them sterile. You're a monster, all of you, the ones that vote for and support this stuff. The board is out of line. The board's policies are out of line. You guys don't know what you're doing. You're pissing everybody off.
People seem to have had about enough of it. In Florida, talking about kids being abused, here's an update. Here's Attorney General James Othmeyer. This is maybe a step in the right direction to take care of monsters.
I'm going to announce this morning that in this case, we will be seeking the death penalty. I believe that crimes like this against young children, where you take their innocence, you take their childhood away from them, these horrific acts deserve the ultimate form of justice. So we will be doing everything we can legally to send him to meet his maker.
Abuse a kid, go meet your maker. Multiple kids, just like in that video.
Class of 97, I made it.
County Public Schools. Ultimate form of justice. A female has been randomly stabbed in Chicago at a train station, coming just 3 months after Irina Zarutska.
Person who stabbed a woman on a CTA train platform. They released this picture of
Look
the
at that
suspect
knife.
holding a knife. Police say the victim was sitting on a bench at the UIC Halstead station Saturday night when this man approached and stabbed her in the chest. The woman was taken to the hospital. At last check, she was in good condition. If you recognize this suspect, call police.
I mean, this is very bright orange shirt, bright pink hat. I mean, seems very findable, you would think. Right Angle News Network shows us a 2020 clip of Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger confirming Trump had won Georgia with only 2% of votes left to be counted is trending. He said, quote, "We have about 2% left to go. As you can see where we are right now, it will not change the outcome." But that's not exactly how it played out now, did it? Here's Palmer Luckey talking about H-1B visas.
Of course, there's so much H-1B abuse. You would not believe what I saw when I was in Silicon Valley. It is insane. It's obviously a program to try and replace U.S. workers with basically slave labor that can't ever escape. The H-1B abuse is crazy. Of course, there's so
This is someone who actually knows something about H-1B visas, unlike anyone at the Wall Street Journal. A parent was complaining about the school board pushing transgender. And then this is the Defiant L's interaction with Miss Jacobs and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth.
Because if it were, you would be keeping these women in. Instead, you are the one injecting culture wars into the military, and it's at the detriment of our military readiness and national security.
Look at the weird smirk on her face.
Now, General Kane, I'd like to turn to you.
So to be clear, these are men who think they're women.
These are women. I'm happy to educate you on
but these are men,
on trans
and so
issues at another
what we've
time.
identified is that there's mental health issues with that belief system.
I'd like to turn to General
are
Kane
detrimental
now.
to readiness, and that's the determination that we've made and that we stand behind. Gender dysphoria.
And so you don't
complications.
because
Tim Tebow is going to show us something shocking.
It is one of the worst evils in the world, and it is happening all around the world at a massive scale, but it's also happening right here in the U.S. And right now, this year, somewhere between 300,000 to 1 million people will be trafficked in the U.S. And so many of those will be minors. And trafficking is a horrible, horrible evil. But also something that's really important to highlight is the exploitation
of the traffic.
No, the exploitation. So a lot of people bunch them together, but they're a little bit different. Trafficking is primarily done for profit. Exploitation is primarily done for pleasure. So exploitation is done on the most of the time on the internet, and there'll be like peer-to-peer networks that someone download a peer-to-peer network, and they will share child rape videos, and there'll be part of groups that goes back and forth. And we just think this is happening, over there somewhere. But I pulled something just for you guys. Can y'all pull that up? You see that? Those red dots? This is New York State. That every red dot is a unique IP address that is downloading and sharing child images and videos, and that's just the last 30 days in the state of New York.
Jesus. Whoa.
Oh my God.
Is the FBI arresting these people?
Well, do you see the blue dots? Those are the ones that are being investigated.
Just investigation?
The blue dots are the ones that are being investigated.
But if you have a confirmed IP address that's sharing this type of content,
so it's a good conversation, and a lot of people will say, well, how are they not doing more? Our law enforcement, can areas get better? Of course, but our law enforcement is so undermanned. It does not have many places, does not have the best tech. They are undermanned. There is a few people that their job is this. It is not a lot. Like we have, we want to talk about all these things and they can't, and defund them. Listen, when you defund them, you're not actually caring for these boys and girls. I think we need to escalate how many hires we have, especially in victim identification, to keep these boys and girls safe. It's one of our bills in Congress. Is the Renewed Hope Act is so that we would hire more victim identification specialists to be able to identify these boys and girls so that we can knock on that door and go safeguard that child.
Why do you think that this is not unanimously supported or even spoken about? Like it seems
we've been speaking a lot about it.
Of course you guys have, but
why is it not amplified?
Yeah.
I think it makes a lot of people uncomfortable. Well, we wrote our bill specifically in a way for right or left, because for us, it's not about politics. It's about people, especially people that are suffering. Yeah. And this is trafficking, except this is just trafficking down the hall.
Yeah.
The number one offender in this, biological fathers.
Oh, God.
Yes.
Oh, come on.
Do you think people aren't doing
Oh,
more
God.
about this because we feel, oh, this is a problem over there?
I think that is a big part of it. Yes, I feel like we think it's just over there.
Parents doing this for their own
over there
kids.
meaning
Am I saying that
overseas.
right?
Overseas,
other
we think
countries,
it's taken Liam Neeson. We think it's all of these other things when it's not. We have so many issues that are taking place right here in our country. And I could keep going off list. We're the #1 buyer of for boys and girls around the world. America is.
Meaning like videos of it?
Yes, we pay for the rape of boys and girls in the Philippines, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Thailand. Like, we're the #1 buyer. In peer-to-peer sharing of this information, we're 3rd worst in the world. China, Russia, US, and Italy's 4th. Like, this is one of the worst evils in the world. And people think, well, we're not doing that. Yes, we are.
do really think that.
I know we do.
Yeah.
And that's one of the, our hearts is to get this, message out, to be able to make change and then support our law enforcement and task forces that are working on this. Cause there are some freaking heroes that are fighting this every single day, but they do not,
I don't think I could work that. I don't think I could put that stuff into my head every day. I mean, if I could work on the back end of it somehow where I didn't have to get involved with the actual. You think it's tough being a cop or a firefighter, man. I couldn't even imagine what these people have to take home with them.
do not have as good of technology most of the time as those with the goal to do evil. They just don't. And they're also, do you know how hard it is for these law enforcement officers when you wake up every day and you watch a video of an infant, of an 18-month-old, a 9-month-old, when you watch, and that's one of the #1 burnout rates for law enforcement.
I mean, I can't imagine
when you do that. And I think it's something around 3 years for them. But you take a year to be trained up, and now you're burnt out. Now you got to bring someone else on, and it's like, how do we have the manpower to do that?
I mean,
yeah, who wants to do that job? Man. All right, here's Thomas Massey talking about Epstein.
There's 2 reasons he's flipped.
Why he's flipped. But God, that Tebow stuff with the abuse. Florida has the right penalty for abusing kids, and it needs to be adopted everywhere.
One, his rich and powerful friends who've donated to him or go to his dinner parties. Like, he doesn't want to embarrass them. And and they may, in fact, not even be guilty of a crime. They may just be very embarrassed that they were having extramarital sex, with these women, for instance. So that's one thing. But I think there's also the intelligence aspect of this that goes even deeper. Maybe Trump is on one plane and he's thinking, I can't embarrass my friends. But there may be people in the administration who are career people who are thinking on another plane. They're like, well, let's convince Trump he's going to embarrass his friends, when in reality what we're trying to do is protect our sources and methods, which may involve sex trafficking.
Yeah.
And we don't want to embarrass our partner, Israel, in this time when the popularity for their war or support for their war is at an all-time low. And now we're going to find out that their defense minister, Ehud Barak, was documented with Jeffrey Epstein 36 times, probably even while he was defense minister. He had previously been prime minister. I don't know that he knew Epstein during that period. I'm not sure how much of those dates overlap, but there are reasons that they want to protect them. There's reasons he's flipped. And I don't think his children or J.D. Vance or even Pam Bondi or Kash Patel were read into all that when they originally said all of this stuff should be released. I mean, if it's a hoax, what were those binders that Pam Bondi gave out? Was she just fueling a hoax?
Oh, those binders were such a mess. That couldn't have gone any worse than Couldn't have been much worse. Okay, I already showed you this story. Florida does it right again as a local sheriff perp walks an 11-year-old future thug for allegedly writing a K list of people he intended on taking out at school, facing felony charges in Volusia County. Florida does not F around.
All right, buddy, careful, just can't come on inside. Walk all the way down that door there, okay?
All right, come on in here. Have a seat. We'll get some paperwork together and we'll be back to get you in a short while, okay?
So what do you think? He wrote a list. He didn't do anything. Felony charge. 11-year-old. Here's a Milwaukee convicted abuser sentenced to 35 years. He abused a 54-year-old twice while wearing an ankle monitor for essaying another woman.
According to investigators, Kirk raped a 54-year-old woman inside of an elevator near 24th in Wisconsin last December. Charging documents reveal he raped that woman twice, choked her, kicked and stomped on her in an elevator. And this all happened while Kirk was wearing an ankle monitor with the juvenile justice system for sexually assaulting other women, including an elderly woman.
During the last few months, I have spent time trying to imagine how my crimes impacted your lives, and I can barely comprehend it.
According to
I can barely comprehend it. Interesting. Libs of TikTok reports Richard Lee Bell indicted on 9 felony charges for the repeated essay of a child. He will now avoid jail after striking a plea deal with a Soros-backed Texas DA, Jose Garza. Insane. Repeated essay of a kid. That's Texas down there. David going to get his kids. Thank you much. See you soon. Kevin Dalton. Well, let's listen to the News Nation report. They put it together.
Braun Levy, nationally ranked Loyola High School senior, was headed to play at the University of Virginia this fall.
I've never seen anything like this in my life.
In January, he and mom Jennifer watched as the Palisades fire took their home.
Oh my God.
Sadly, that was not the worst tragedy to hit Jennifer. 4 months after losing her home, she lost her son when Braun was killed by an alleged drunk driver.
Our family's destroyed. It makes me... I just didn't ever think this would happen to us.
The driver was arrested at the time of the incident, but has yet to be charged. Adding insult to grievous injury, the driver had been previously charged with DUI in 2023 and was driving on a suspended license. This is hardly a standalone case. According to a new Cal Matters report, California has some of the weakest DUI laws in the U.S., allowing repeat drunk drivers back on the roads with little punishment. For example, in California, drivers typically lose their licenses for 3 years after a third DUI. By comparison, in New Jersey, it's 8 years. In Nebraska, it's 15. And in Connecticut, it's permanent.
I feel like the state of California has failed us, and we have paid the ultimate price. And because of that, because we've paid the price of a lifetime of devastation and grief, I have no choice but to fight. Our family's prepared to be disappointed.
How do you make sense of it?
I don't make any sense of it. I don't know how to make sense of it. All I know is that the only thing I can do is is try to change it for other people and to honor our son's legacy.
Pat Rolera is the regional executive director of MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
We have terrible laws in California that need to be fixed. If the governor took a look at California and decided that he wanted California to run differently as it relates to DUIs, I believe he could change that.
To honor Braun's legacy, Jennifer has started the Live Like Braun Foundation, and she is introducing Braun's Bill, which would change the vocabulary so that a DUI with death is not classified an accident, but a violent felony.
It's not an accident. The person who killed our son made a choice. I want Braun's bill passed in the state of California so that no one has to feel this pain and that justice is served.
Governor Newsom's office tell us that sentencing is the responsibility of the courts, not the governor, but say that the governor will consider any bill the legislator puts across his desk. The suspect in this case was in jail for 30 days, but released due to overcrowding. In the meantime, the Levy family anxiously awaits formal charges from the district attorney. Elizabeth?
Oh, that mother, that is a heartbreaking story. Rich McHugh, great reporting. Thank you.
That's California for you. Greg Price here reports on Gavin Newsom's former chief of staff just now being arrested by the FBI and charged with bank fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy to defraud the United States, which includes funneling campaign money for personal use. I would just tell all of you, do not be surprised how deep the rabbit hole is going to go. All of that money for light rail that was never built, $900,000 per homeless person, a $1.5 billion Sacramento state capitol renovation, absolutely blowing through the budgets. Don't be surprised. And go get it. Go get the information. Gavin Newsom, one of the most clueless, dangerous, corrupt politicians out there. So keep your eyes peeled. All right. Let me say that that's what I wanted to say for today. We have a special show coming up, so I got to kind of do the loop around here, download, then upload this show, and then get ready for the 4 p.m. program. This is Thursday, and we're doing the second part of our Strictly Football show. Myself, Mike Barra, Jim Mitchell, Azrael Robinson. Strictly Football. We're going to preview the games coming up this week, along with some interesting storyline ideas, betting trends, and we're going to make our picks as well. So join us at 4 p.m. Eastern for Strictly Football, brought to you by the Unhappy Hour here on the New American Media. All right, everybody. Thank you all for being here. Like I said, I'm going to wrap around and do the show launch. Be back in a few. And please hit like, please hit subscribe, please share the show. Rumble Rant Super Chats, always appreciated. Patreon and YouTube and Rumble subscriptions. Just signing up for one of those and getting it on repeat, it all matters. It really matters. You stack $5, you stack $5, you stack $5, you do some reoccurring things, and before you know it, you kind of have Lego blocks you can build to kind of figure out where the business expenses are covered from. This is what crowdfunding is all about. It is the new model. You know, we don't have mug clubs per se. We don't have subscription models, like cable companies per se. Patreon does come close, and it's all appreciated. Thank you both. Who did it today? It was Kenneth and Deb with the super chats coming through off the top rope. Thank you so much. Clink, clink, clink. I could hear those dollar coins falling in like I was in Vegas at a slot machine. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And yes, please continue to watch our programs. We have 19 years of shows. If you would ever be so kind to just let some content play. I know we are monetized again, but still keeping those numbers up and going back. If you're cleaning, you're working on some project, go find another show. Go find some interview that we've done over the past 15 years, 1,900 videos. It all helps the algorithm. So do your hearts, your likes, your confettis when you tap it on the screen here on YouTube. Thank you all so much. All right. Signing out, and I'll be back at 4 p.m. Eastern with Strictly Football. I appreciate you. I love you, and we'll talk to you again soon. Take care, everybody. Peace.
Your guide to the truth. TheNewAmericanMedia.com.